Ka pai. E tikara a te kōrero, wai ka rori ki te atu i runga rawa mau ngā rongo ki runga ki te wenua wakaaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. Te mii atu rā ki ai hoa ngā manu, nāna te timatanga me te wakamutunga. Te tuarua ki a rātau ko ngā mate. Te maha hoki o ngā mate, tēnei te marama e hipa nei. Ko tētahi o ngā mate, nā ko taku matua kēke ko Johnny Ritai, te pōtiki o te wānau e mate ana e ia, nā ki ahi Treiria, ko Paulie Tuta, anō rā te whānau Tuta, tōna pāpa ko Fraser, nā e tako tō mai ana ki Ngāti Mutunga. Katahi anō rā ki tā Wira Gardner, nā a Ngāti Awa, a whakatōhea te wānau apanui ana Ngāti Pikiao. Katahi anō rā ki o Rimu Piko, e tako tō mai ana ko Mitch Davey, te tama a koro bang rāua ko Kui Hesi. Katahi anō rā ki Liza, Rihi, Two-Day Noble, tako tō mai ana e ia ki Wakaurangi, me te maha hoki o na tamariki me ona mokopuna. Katahi anō rā ko Mate Huirua Lima, e tako tō mai ana e ia ki Ngāti Mutunga. Katahi anō rā ko tētahi o ngā mate ko Francis Wairama Rukuwai. Te kuia rā, te hoaranga tira, te iwi kahu. Te iwi kahu Rukuwai. Nei rā nō rā tētahi o ngā marae kura e mate ana. Ko tētahi anō rā ko kahurangi te mūranga June Jackson. Ko ia anō rā ki Tāmaki Makaurau. Me te whakariteri ana ko Muma Tera. Katahi anō rā ko tēnei rā, ko te rā nehu o tō tātou nei pāpa te wā tūkura ko Moana Jackson. Me te uri o Hāwea, Pōporo, Hine Rupe, Rongo Mai Waine, Ngāti Kuri, Pakiaka, Ngāti Kaumunu, tako tō mai ana e ia ki Matahiwi. Tēnei rā, nā taranaki anō rā, e hāpai ana, e kawe e ia, nā ko tōna kaupapa kia oki mai ia ki te kōpū o te wenua. Anō reira i runga i tērā, i tika rā te kōrero, ko te pō te kai ari te ao, ko te mate te kai ari te ora, ko rātau ngā mate ki a rātau, ko tātou ki a tātou e tai nei. Ko tātou ki a tātou e tai nei me te whakaro anō rā ki te iwi o Ngāti Maru. Ngāti Maru Waranui, nā rātau anō rā, e tai ana te pānuitanga tuatoru mō Ngāti Maru, tēnei te muru me te raupatu o te wenua, me te ki anō rā a Wirimu Kingi, nā mate ai te wenua, mate ai te tangata. O reira i runga i tērā, i tika rā te mii atu ki a rātou, a Ngāti Maru Waranui, me te kōrero anō rā, maru te wenua te tangata. Katahi anō rā, ka huri ki a mātou, ana e tai ipurangi nei, e tai uiārangi nei, ngā mōre o Toroanui marae tēnei te mii atu ki a koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ka tika rā, ka huri ki te karakia e tīmata ana tō tātou nei ui, mo tēnei rā, no reira i runga i tērā, paua ki runga, paua ki raro, paua ki tā more nui nōrangi, ki tā more nui nōpapa, e rongo e ai o tēnā tau i tō pau kātu, e kore e u ia, e kore e unu ia, e kore e inga, e kore e wārara, tūturu o iti wakamaua ki a tīna, aumi e ui e, tai ki e. Ka pai te wānau, he mihi ana ki a koutou. Just to acknowledge, of course, all those who have passed this month. There have been many of our mate, many great leaders that have passed away, and we pay acknowledgement to our matua keke, Uncle Johnny Ritai, the youngest of our whānau of my dad's family, who passed away over in Australia. Paulie Tuta, and the Tuta whānau, to Tā Wira Gardner, Mitch Davey, son of Kui Hesi and Koro Bang Davey, who laid at Orimu Piko. Liza Noble, our Wanaunga, who passed away at Wakaurangi and was laid to rest. Mate Huirua Lima, Ngāti Mutunga, another one of our kuia a very staunch advocate for te reo Māori, ko hanga reo, kura kaupapa. And she passed this month. Our queer, Auntie Frances Wairama Rukuwai, wife of Uncle Kahu Rukuwai. And of course, mother of our whanaunga and Sharon and David and so on, and the mokopuna as well. So we think of the whānau pani at this time as well for all of our mate. We had our June Jackson, who passed away, Manukau Urban Māori Authority, who've done amazing work there in Tāmaki Makaurau. And of course today, Moana Jackson's burial that will be carried by Taranaki, is my understanding. Taranaki have been asked, I think it was Moana, who asked that Taranaki carry Moana from the marae to the urupa. So I know that there's a lot of our whānau that are there at the moment at Matahiwi in Hastings. And I know that there will be poi manu and appropriate karakia in kōrero that will accompany Moana as he's laid to rest. So with that, we acknowledge those who have passed on. And of course, we had, during the week, we had Ngāti Maru, whose third reading was done, and their apology was received, although, 5 minutes on the internet doesn't really do them justice in terms of what took place at Ngāti Maru. So they're now the 8th iwi, or the last iwi of Taranaki now to have settled. So all our iwi in Taranaki have settled, which of course, comes the healing and reconciliation. So some big kaupapa over this last month, and of course, we're thinking of Auntie Shona. I saw Auntie Shona at the airport. I think she's been farewell by the whānau as she headed over to Perth to be with Auntie Linda, whose tamahine is not well, my understanding is. So the Auntie Shona has gone over to support the whānau over there in Perth at the moment. So yeah, we're thinking of all of those, all of our whānau during this time, and particularly in this COVID environment, which seems to be settling down a little bit, although the case numbers in Taranaki are still quite high. And we know that, we still need to be vigilant. So, and of course, the 5th of April is approaching, where the mandates will be lifted. And I guess part of there'll be a little bit of leniency, my understanding is around how we approach COVID. But, my whakaaro is that we still need to be vigilant around that kaupapa. So with that whānau, mihi ana ki a koutou, thank you for joining this morning, and of course, daylight saving. So we fall back an hour. So we're now into the I suppose the autumn, and then into the winter, although sun's still shining, and we'll be making the most of that, I'm sure. So with that, whānau, we're just going to go through some of our housekeeping matters, and that's please mute your microphone at all times. Please raise your hand to speak, and then I can unmute. Now, the Zoom voting poll today, whānau, is not working, so you'll have to raise your hand when you vote. I, Carl, or abstain. So we'll go through that process, and all votes for each resolution will be recorded by Nadia. So thank you for that, Nadia. Okay, and of course, as I said, we are recording our hui for minute-taking purposes and for our records. So we now move into apologies, whānau. So I have apologies today from Maya. I see Mina's here. Maya, Auntie Teresa, Rawiri Mahutonga, who has mahi. Auntie Shona also gives her apologies, and Auntie Linda. Are there any apologies? Are there any further apologies? Ka pai, kei a koe, Nadia. Just unmute, Nadia. Yep.
Yep. Just Mairangi.
Mairangi. Ka pai, kia ora. Other apologies, whānau?
Ngā huia right.
Ka pai, ngā huia.
And Airway Ripia.
Airway. Ka pai. Any other apologies, whānau? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to share our screen, and we'll just make sure that we go through our pages. Oh yeah, ka pai whānau. Yeah, we talked about this. Right, there we go. So do I have a mover, please? A mover to accept our apologies. You just raise your hand. Kia ora whai. Do I have a seconder? Ka
Just see
pai.
Natalie.
Natalie. Oh, and oopsie. Sorry, what? All those, so we're just going to do now voting whānau for that. So all those in favour say aye, raise your hand. Ka pai. Did you count those? You got those, Nadia? Is that okay?
Oh, I just saw Auntie Jen's got some manuhiri, so I just seen how many manuhiri said aye. 2, so three aye. Yep. Hang on.
Yeah. Sorry, I know the poll would have been a lot easier.
Oh, no.
Yep, all good. Got it all.
Do we have any Carl? Any Carl? Hands for Carl? Any abstains? Okay, ka pai. Kua mana whānau. Thank you for that. So that's the first part of our hui. The apologies, accepting the apologies. Okay, here we go. We'll now move into, so just in regards to attendance, Nadia will be just taking those, and we are also recording our hui. All right, we move into now our minutes. So our documentation has all been circulated and emailed out. Thank you, Lena, for organising the paperwork to be sent out. We do know that was a long hui, and there were around 10 pages. So, so what we're going to do is we're going to, firstly, we're going to accept the minutes, and then we're going to discuss them. So could I have a move? And the assumption, of course, is that whānau had read the minutes. So, so do I have someone to move that the minutes be accepted? Do I have anyone to move that the minutes be accepted? Kia ora, Natalie. A mover, Natalie. And do we have a seconder? Do we have a seconder to accept our minutes? Ka pai, Nadia. Okay, this is where we're going to have to vote again, whānau. So we're going to vote. So all those who accept the minutes and are an aye, can you please raise your hand? Either physically or either put up an image. There's 3 there from Auntie Jenny, Nadia. Mina. Ka pai. So we'll just keep our hands there just for Nadia so she can see everybody. And Nadia will give us an indication. Yeah, thumbs up. Are there any Carl? Any Carl? Any abstain? Okay, ka pai whānau, mihi ana, thank you for that. All right, I'm just going to take that off now, because now we're going to go into any matters arising from our minutes. Oh, the kui whakaari here, Nadia has just raised her hand. Sorry, Lena, did you want to say something, Lena? Sorry.
Kati Pai, just looking at the slide, the minutes from previous is for the 6th of March.
Oh, sorry. Right, 6th of March.
So the
Kia ora.
yeah, I'll message.
Yeah. Okay, ka pai. Now, in regards to the minutes, as we said, there were 10 pages. So are there any matters arising? And we'll come to Auntie Jenny. Auntie Jenny, if you can unmute and just direct us to the page, please, and the number that you are referring to.
Can you hear me, Dylan?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. They're not numbered. Well, mine are not numbered, but it's number 2. And then the following sentence is to do with Beep and Sue donated to help alleviate cost for Toroanui to block entry access. That was donated the fencing at the back of Rangikapuia. Does that mean this fencing now belongs to Toroanui?
No, my understanding is that Beep just and Auntie Sue just made some of that fencing available, and my understanding is that that's their fencing that they have. Kapai, Kui Whakaari here, did you have a response to that? You can unmute Kui Whakaari here.
God, bloody hell, too many things to do at once.
There you go.
I'm just hand up to Tautoko what you said, Damon. It isn't to give for Toroanui, just to use. Thank you.
Kia ora. Ka pai. Auntie Jenny, you had some more queries?
This Wi-Fi access points.
Yes.
That's already up in the kitchen area, the whatever it's called, okay?
Yeah.
And it's actually black. And it doesn't go with our deco. I prefer it to be white. Because there's no way they would go into a rich person's house with plenty of money where their kitchen is white and put something black in there. I would like to change to white, please, and then it goes with our deco in the kitchen.
Yep. We actually have Te Aroha coming in our hui, and we can talk to her about that.
Yeah.
Ka pai. Any other queries on minutes?
No, no. Have you two got anything to say? No.
What's going on?
Oh, they're just going through the minutes. I don't know how to unmute.
Push that same one again.
Oh yeah, ka pai, Auntie Jenny. All right, whānau. So that's a Kui Whakaari here, kai a koe. Just remember to unmute.
No, sorry. Kare aku kōrero, Damon.
Ka pai.
Whakapau wānoiho.
Ka pai. Okay, whānau. Nadia, kai a koe he kōrero?
Thank you, Damon. Just the matters arising. So the tables and forms are currently sitting in Mairangi's shed. But we were going to talk about the future of those
Yes.
forms. Is that right? Okay.
Yes, they're on the agenda.
Oh, aroha mai.
Ka pai. Okay, any other matters arising from minutes, whānau? Ka pai. Okay, we will move on to now correspondence in and out. So correspondence in, will just take us now to a link, and I'll just share. Okay, so here is a record of our correspondence. Yeah, Lena?
I think I've resent you the April Zoom agenda.
Oh, have you just done that now, Lena?
Yeah,
Ah, are we still in the February one?
did it come to you?
Okay, I'm just checking now.
I can do it again.
Did you say you sent me the Zoom link?
The
yeah, here we
yep,
go, here we
the
go.
akapai. Thank you.
And then that's got all the links. Sorry, aroha mai.
aroha mai.
Okay, we'll just go now to correspondence in and out. There we go. And then we'll
All right,
share.
you're in there.
Oh, wait on. Oh, yeah. Ah, yeah, ka pai, Lena. Right, now we can share that. Quite a bit of correspondence there. Lena, did you want to speak to that? Anything that of note that we need to be aware of?
All right, so we've received the latest comms for COVID from the Tiaranga Clinic. But I don't know any more about the Tiaranga COVID community initiative, other than that's where we are getting our latest information for regarding statistics, etc., for the Taranaki region. And any the important comms in have been referred to the agendas under each project report and PPT report, as well as financial our fundraising committee reports. Yes, that's all I have to add. Everything of importance is added in the agenda for this month's hui.
Ka pai, kia ora. Okay, whānau. So with that now, we'll just go to move a motion to accept correspondence in. That's correspondence in and correspondence out. So do we have a mover? You could just raise your hands. Or a hand, just raise a hand. Minna has moved that. And a seconder, Natalie. And all those in favour say, or raise your hand. Aye. Got two there, Faye. Three from Auntie Jenny. And how many from Faye? Two from Faye. Ka pai, and Kui Whakaari his hands up. Minna's ka pai. Okay, and a Carl. And abstain. Ka pai, kua mana whānau. Okay, we'll move on now. That's good. We're now coming to financial report. So just apologies from Rawiri regarding the financial report. I'll bring that up for us to view and share. And of course, the financial report has been circulated. But we'll share that link now with you. So as I said earlier, Rawiri has given his apologies as he had a busy evening and still at work, busy with his mahi. So currently the maintenance account budget sitting at $2,424.64. Card account is $269.11. The Ngā Pūtea o Te Rā account is $5,585.22. Rangi Ka Puia, $752.78. Project account, $171,613.27. And IRD GST account, $20,133.14. As you can see, maintenance, we've had income or balance of $2,424.64, but we've had two bills, or one bill, Genesis Power, and then we transferred funds to the card account. So you can see that there, and you can see the income from the card account. So so that's sitting good at the moment. Ngā Pūtea o Te Rā, so you can see koha that's come through from whānau. And the balance. And on the second page, you can see the Rangi Ka Puia account, You see the project account. So the project account has expenditure Shakespeare solution. So that is the hanging system expense. My understanding that was the deposit. We've paid a Pepper construction invoice of 18,000, leaving a balance of 151,811 and 53. We have received the last couple of days an invoice from Pepper Construction of $14,000, and we have requested a few other documents before that is paid that we have continually been asking for in this last month, but still no response. And you can see the GST account currently sitting at 20,053, 133 and 14 cents minus the 79,834. I'm not sure what that's for. Okay, are there any questions? Kui whakaari, I see your hand up. Did you have a question around the finance? Kei a koe. Unmute, kui whakaari here. Ka pai.
Kia ora. Yeah, I did. It's around the GST account, Damon.
All right.
And we've just paid out what, 20,000 to GST, and we have $79 left or whatever.
That's at the moment. Yeah, you can see that we've had we've got 20,000 in there.
Had.
Yeah. So my understanding is that there's been a $20,053 payment made with a balance of $79.34. So yes, you are correct.
Okay, so just to put my mind at ease, we haven't had any more income that we're going to have to be paying GST on, have we? That hasn't been. This is minutes from 6th of March. I'm doing this without any minutes. I haven't got any, right?
Yeah. No, you are correct, Kui whakaari here. That's right. That's right. We don't have any more income. We've received everything now. We've received all income for the project.
And there's no other income that's in that doesn't have GST. You know, I'm just looking from the 6th of March to today.
Yeah.
Are we going to, do we have still an outstanding account with GST for GST? That's what my question is.
Yeah, I will follow that up, but my understanding is no, we won't, but I will check with Rawiri.
Okay, thank you.
Ka pai, ka pai Kui whakaari here. Are there any other pātai? Ka pai Auntie Jenny, kei a koe. Unmute Auntie Jenny.
You don't understand.
I'd just like to comment on your answer there, Damon, where you said that we won't be paying any more GST.
At the moment, that's my understanding. I'm going to follow that up with Rawiri. I've got to follow that up still.
We will have to be paying GST because the work has not finished at Toroanui. It's not finished, so bills are going to come in for whatever work they're going to do from today to the time they finish. It's going to be GST on it, whether we like it or not.
Ka pai.
And the other thing.
Yes, carry on.
A query came up last month regarding that's number 8 in the number 8 for the financials. The second bullet, pātai. Has the money been transferred from the GST account back into the maintenance account? And the answer was, I'm assuming, yes. That was for $16,121.58 on the 20th of October, taken from the maintenance account to pay Pepper.
Yes.
As of the 6th of March, that had not not been paid back. I would like to know if it's been paid back from the 6th of March and up to today.
Right, I'll follow that up.
Because that should be paid back before anything else is paid, because that's money owing to our maintenance account.
That's correct. Yes, you're right. Yeah, kia ora. Other queries, whānau? Ka pai koe whakaari here, kei a koe. Just unmute koe whakaari here.
Aroha mai. I'm not sure if you want to hear this query at this point in the maintenance, in the finances, Damon, but
Right.
and I'm really hesitant to bring it up because Rawiri isn't here. Hey, and he hasn't been for a couple of meetings or so. But my question is, like I've expressed earlier on my awangawanga of Toroanui. I don't care which section of Toroanui. If Toroanui gets in the cart with IRD, my understanding so far, if I've heard this correctly, that there has been 2 occasions when we have been late and charged interest. We cannot keep doing that, Damon. And I did ask before if someone could, what was it?
That's what it would be.
Did I say ask Rawiri at this point to step down from that key position and put someone else in there that can keep up to date with paying our bills correctly and on time? Hey, and you were going to look into it and talk to him about it and perhaps take on some of that responsibility. Now,
Yes.
I understand, Damon, that responsibility, that particular chair has got a lot of hooing with the bank to make that change happen. And with you working, you know, with your job, that means a day off or 2 just to deal with that changeover. And that goes for both you and Rawiri. And I understand that, but I'm still pressing for that to happen. Now, if it's not going to be a very smooth transition between you 2, can we please look at someone else who is maybe just working in town and is prepared to just take on a little bit more, in that respect.
Ka pai, kia ora. The challenge between Rawiri and I is trying to find time, particularly, I mean, his schedule is, he looks good at the beginning of a week and he's back to mahi because he has his days in lieu. So we're looking at these next 2 days that we can get together, Rawiri and I. We just haven't had a chance to organise and book that yet. But we are looking at doing the transition between, the roles that he has. So, no, tika koe, tautoko tōko rero koe whakaari here.
Yeah, I'm very matakua nau mo Toroanui, mo Parihaka, and then more Rawiri. No te mea, hey, the last finance, when he said, oh, well, I suppose that's on me. I said, yes. Now, I don't want to keep saying yes every month. And it shouldn't be on him. But how many times do we have to bring this to your notice?
Ka pai. Kia ora.
Kia ora noi ho boy. Okay.
Ka pai, Auntie Jenny, kei a koe te kōrero. Just unmute, Auntie Jenny.
How do you do that?
Pressing the wrong button down. Okay. I'd just like to say here, I take ambience, if that's the word you use, about asking Rawiri to step down. He now has help from Marlene who could step into his shoes, but to ask that guy to step down, he mā wiwi. And we all know that. So I think that is very rude, and he does the best that he can. And it's very challenging, as it is for all of the trustees that are sitting there with hats on to do the mahi for the Toroanui project, even though we can moan and groan. So I don't like it. I don't like that sort of korero when somebody is mauiwi. We've got somebody sitting there with them.
Apai, we have talked to Rawiri about that, and he was going to discuss how his health was, and what it's looking like for him. One of the things that he has, and this is in confidence, but I will say so that we all understand the context, is that Rawiri is booked in for a liver transplant. The liver transplant could take him out of action for between 4 to 5 months. And so with that, Rawiri had, and I asked that he might discuss that at the last hui, so that he's makes our whānau aware of his situation. And he could go, a liver could become available within the next week, and Rawiri would then be, he would be having the operation in 2 weeks, and then he'd be in recovery. So there is some urgency to work with Rawiri to get this, and it's in the interim. It wasn't going to be a replacement. It was really just to help out our processes whilst he's in recovery. So in our discussions, he's been very open about that and sees the sense in doing that. So, but yes, kia ora, Auntie Jenny, I do agree with that we work alongside Rawiri, and that's what we're doing. I mean, he's been treasurer for nearly 20 years for Toroanui. So, but at the same time, we just need to make sure that our financial processes are robust and sound. So that's really key for us as trustees and for our marae, and working alongside Marlene as well, as Marlene has undertaken those responsibilities as well. So all three of us, we could all meet together and look at what the processes are. That's Marlene, myself, and Rawiri. Nadia, kei a koe, and then we'll come to you, Mina.
Thank you, Damon. I just wanted to request through the chair that this portion of the hui not be recorded in the minutes.
Ka pai. Kia ora. Kia ora. Tēnā koe, Nadia. Mina, and then koe whakaari here.
Tēnā tātou. I just wanted to also remind us that while Marlene's doing some parts of the financials for, what's the word, security, safety, all of those things, there are two different sets of things to do, and Marlene can't do both because then it becomes unsafe. So it still requires a trustee to do that. So yeah, but you're right, Damon, that we will have that you will take over the bits that Rawiri does in zero, and then we'll probably need to appoint someone in our back end, in our TSB banking side of things, which may be a bit of a hassle given TSB banking setup's always a bit of a problem, but we do need to do that so that we have a clear, coverage.
Ka pai, kia ora, Mina. Koe whakaari here, kai a koe?
Well, this kōrero, as you know, Jenny, you've been at most of the huis, has happened a while back. And it's not about a personal thing. And as Damon has said, they've had the discussions. They've been discussing ever since it was brought up. But the movements have the steps to make it happen hasn't happened. Now,
Okay.
So I take, what is it, a fence, leave the gate behind, to your comment, sounding pretty catty from this end. Telling us all, this is about Toroanui, this is about Parihaka. And if you have, and you're very good at doing the counters, Jens, if you have a look how much interest goes on a missed payment of GST, can the rest of us all pull in and pay that just because one wasn't well or got tied up or had to have the operation and the rest of the committee didn't do anything about it? That is the only reason. So I don't want to go on about it, but I do take umbrage to that sort of kōrero, because this isn't about a personal attack. And yep, we now know he's sick, but he wasn't so bad earlier on when we started this discussion. Kia ora.
Ka pai, kia ora.
Make it
And
sound
just to
like
respond
we're
to,
out
in regards to Rawiri's health, it's really important for us to, be mindful and confidential around the space as well. I mean, he's still working. He's still working. He's still very positive about his treatment.
Yes.
And so, from that point of view, we support him to the hilt, but we know that we need to get this next process underway. So I'll come to you, Auntie Jenny, for a response, then Lena.
Yes, I would just like to say that how do we know when an account is late for payment? We don't know. So, Whakaaria, how do you know that an account is late for payment and hasn't gone through to get to be paid or come through?
Right.
So, Auntie Jenny, you're referring to the late GST penalty?
That's dead right, Damon. I haven't talked about any other account, Jenny.
No, you're not.
All I brought up is the GST, because they're the only ones that I never hesitate, as you should know, to charge the penalty. And that is my fear, because the GST accounts are always substantial, and we don't have that 10% or whatever percent extra to pay it. That's what and I'm not going to debate this. That's the end. I had my say. Kei a koe.
Yeah, no, I had my say.
All right. Okay, Lena, kei a koe.
Kia ora. Yeah, I'd just like to add to the discussion that Matua Rawiri also has the likes of Tandem Group Accountants, as well as his other network, Peter Leone, in order to get Treasury advice from for financial assist and support Toroanui finances. That's all I'd like to add to the discussion. Kia ora, Damon.
Ka pai, Lena.
But I just want to say this, Damon, aroha mai. This is not, well, I might ask this. If all those people were that good at their job and at helping Rawiri, why have on 2 occasions have we had to pay a GST penalty? Now, don't bother asking that. I don't even care about those people. I just care about Rawiri. And out of all of you, I've worked for him before him as on Toroanui Marae Committee from the very beginning. And I've always supported him when others wanted him out. I support him because he's honest and he does work to do the best he can. I, of all people, know that. Don't try and make me out like a bad person. I'm not doing that to him. I'm trying to save him. And the rest of you should be supporting it.
Ka pai, kia ora koe whakaara here. So next steps from here is arranging time with Rawiri so that we can do the transition with our financial processes and ensuring that they are robust. So, I mean, that's the key part for us, so that we, particularly around the PGF project and GST payments. So with that then, in terms of Rawiri's financial report, Mina, you have a question?
Oh yes, just a query, just for clarity really. Can you state what the process will be, the transition? What is it going to look like so everyone knows?
Damon meeting with Rawiri in these next few days.
No, to do what though? So what will be the end result?
To talk about how we how we go through the GST payment process through My IR online. Also to arrange TSB online banking payments for invoices or billing that comes through, which requires one of the trustee to process and 2 other trustees to approve payments. So those are the 2 areas that we're looking at. And also the other part of that will be financial reporting on a monthly basis back to Toroanui marae, whilst if Rawiri is in recovery.
Ka pai. So that's the discussion around those 3 points, and we're looking for a solution, interim solution, while Rawiri's in this process as well.
All right, tika. Yeah. Ka pai. Okay. Kui whakarihi, you have your hand up again. No, you have something that you want to say, kui whakarihi? Okay.
No,
come-
no, sorry,
okay.
Damon.
Oh, yeah,
I
I'll
don't.
just take,
I don't.
yeah.
I'm not good at working this bloody
No, that's all right.
hand
Ka
up,
pai.
hand down business.
Ka pai.
I don't know.
Okay, whānau, so we're now going to just go through the approval process of accepting Rawiri's financial report. So we're just going to go through the voting. So can you see that? There, can you see that there now? Right. So we're going to move a motion to accept the March 2022 financial report. So if you could raise your hand, can we have a mover, please?
Aye.
Ka pai, Mina, and a seconder. You have a seconder? Just raise your hand, whānau. Ka pai, that's Faye, kia ora Faye. We're going to raise our hands again, or fingers, in terms of voting. So all those in favour say aye. So just raise your hand if you're an aye, and Nadia can count. Faye's got 2. Ka pai, kia ora Pat. Kia ora. Auntie Jenny. Auntie Jenny, how many votes do you have there? 3? 3 ayes. Do we have a Carl? Oh, Natalie's an aye. Carl and abstain. All right. Ka pai. So we'll just do that again. Sorry. A Carl. If you're a Carl, please raise your hand so Nadia can see there are no Carls. And do we have any abstain? No, everyone's an aye. You got that, Nadia?
Unanimous? Was that a unanimous?
Yeah,
Yeah.
unanimous.
What I'm doing, Damon, is instead of counting the ayes, I'm capturing the any cows or abstentions.
Ka pai. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, whānau, thank you very much. That's the financial part of our hui. All right, we're just going to come in now to whare updates. So we have Te Rangi Ka Puia. So we're still waiting for a reply from the PPT post-flood Rangi Ka Puia Riverbank assessment. Now, Mina, did we have some more information or update on that from the last PPT hui?
So, so do you have that email from Tuhio?
Oh, right.
That was her kōrero, which outlines it.
Right.
It's in the agenda, Damon, and or the agenda item 10.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Ka pai. Ka pai. Oh, yeah. I'll just pull that up now, whānau. All right. And then I'll just share. Okay.
Oh, Arawamai, we actually need to read her kōrero, which is her breakdown, not the report. That's just for the trustees. PPT will distribute that to the community.
Oh,
That
apologies.
document. Yeah, it's the actual
Email?
kōrero I emailed. Yeah, because she's unable to attend today because she's at the tangi, on his tangi.
Oh, ka pai. Oh,
Did it come directly from Tuhia? I was just trying to find it now.
I sent it, she sent it to me while she was travelling, and then I forwarded it to you and Lena.
apply. I'll
to
add the
Palmer.
link to the PowerPoint so Damon can show it. So you would like the email to be shown, is that correct?
Yeah. You're going to put it on that page under TNA, Lena. Thank you.
If you'd like to just move on to Mahi Kua there while I'm doing that
Yep.
right now, perhaps
Kapai.
Faye has an update.
Okay, kapai whānau. So just in regards to Mahi Kuare, we have, Faye, just any updates for the hanging system? We're still waiting. Did you want to speak to the hanging system process at the moment? Just unmute and kei a koe te kōrero, Faye. Thank you.
I finally arrived. Took
Kapai.
nearly a whole month. So I picked it up in the Rahotu at the 4 Square Thursday.
Kapai.
So now I'm in communication, well, hopefully tomorrow, with Trudy at Pukeariki, because I want Justin to come in and, because he's our installer from Pukeariki, to just check over, make sure that we've got everything we need before I submit the final invoice to be paid.
Kapai. Thank you, Faye.
Slowly but
overseeing
surely
that.
we're getting there.
Lovely. Kapai, so that's our Mahi Kuare. Rānui, in regards to the Rānui, we had the original tables and forms. So Nadia brought this kaupapa up that were transported and are stored in Koimairangi shed. And that the tables were designed and they were made by our kaitiaki of the time, Uncle Tommy Mahutonga, who had organised all of that, oversaw all of that. And that's hence why they're quite a robust, structured, heavy table. And there were whānau had pātai, why are we still holding on to the original tables and forms? And I thought we'd bring that to the table today, or the kōrero today. So what is our plan? Because we can't keep them stored in Koimairangi's shed forever. But what's our thinking and some ideas or comments about the forms and tables? Would anyone like to comment on that? Kapai, kei a koe, Nadia.
Yeah, thank you, Damon. Just one suggestion from Mairangi is, given the significance of the forms and tables and the fact that Uncle Tommy made them, we don't want to have to, we don't want to dispose of them as such, but could it be that they are stored down at Rangi Kapuia for a period of time while we decide what happens down there, or if whānau, if it is that whānau come and collect, she's more than happy to accommodate that as well. But she wouldn't like them to see them just being disposed of in any way, given the history with Uncle Tommy making them, and that perhaps Rangi Kapuia could be. That's just one whakaaro from her. Thank you.
Kapai, kia ora, Nadia. Mina, kei a koe he kōrero?
Hi. I just recall at a hui at Whare Whakaruru, and it was last year sometime, but we agreed to keep them, I do believe, or that the sentiment was that they should be retained, and it was always going to be where to store them. So Rangi Kapuia, while it's got firm foundations and isn't as bad off as we initially thought, it still has black mold because we haven't addressed the dampness there yet, which we need to do before it gets worse. But so we do need to find an alternate location to store them. And I've just had a thought that perhaps we could ask Te Kāhui and perhaps store them at RD1 building in Pungarehu, which is a bit more long term.
Kapai, good idea. Good idea. Let's do that. We've got some of the kaimahi there as well to help and support that too. So, ka pai mina, good idea. Kei a koe, Auntie Jenny, you have kōrero? You're on unmute. You're ready.
We can put them over where the ride-on mower is meant to be, as long as the table gets a skip. So what's rubbish in that garden shed or whatever it is, you know where the ride-on used to be? That needs to be cleaned out. It has to be cleaned out sooner or later. Well, if we clean that out and modify it, we can put our forms and tables in there until such time as we have another discussion. And they're on site. We haven't got stuff over here, over there. To me.
Okay.
And we get a lock.
Ka pai, kia ora. Mina, kai a koe?
That's a good idea, Auntie Jenny. I just did wonder, is it waterproof? For cleaning it out is one thing, and that's cool, but what about its waterproofness? I wasn't sure.
Unmute, Auntie Jenny.
Yeah, I've not seen any puddles in there.
Well, ka pai, we've got two options then. Maybe the on-site is the preferred once we check to see it is, waterproofed. And then a backup would be RD1, if need be.
If you like,
No, sorry, yes, ka pai, Auntie Jenny.
if you like, Dame and I can go with Michael up there and have a look at the green shed and email you.
Yep.
About getting rid of the stuff.
Yes, that'll be much appreciated. Yeah, just let us know what it's like.
Okay.
Kia ora. And we know that we got our skip bins coming in for our cleanup. So, we can use if we do decide to do that, then we can put all that rubbish in the skip bin. So, ka pai, Auntie Jenny. We'll go to Faye and then we'll come to you, koe whakaaria. Faye, kei a koe, and Pat, kei a kōrua.
Tēnā koe whānau. Mōrena.
Mōrena.
Getting back to the mattresses and the forms, aroha mai.
No, not mattresses.
Oh, sorry, the forms and the tables, and now at the anti-mairangis at the moment. Look, we've had a lot of help outside our farm gate to do all the work to get them from the marae to storage and to move from storage again to storage B. And now we're talking about storage 3. So my whakaaro is, look, we've got enough mahi to do with our tupuna whares. If we can concentrate on getting those up and running and done, then we go back to the tables, we can go back to the forms, and we can look at, okay, how can we raise money to pay off GST? Let's get rid of them. Those that want them, put a price on them. Let's go for it. Otherwise, because we've got new tables, we've got new seats, we've got new mattresses. You want to go back to old? I don't. I want to move forward. And I just want to share that with you all. They've done us really well, but it's time to move forward. So let's leave that with you. That's my whakaaro on that. Thank you.
Kia ora, Pat. Auntie Jenny?
Yeah, I'd just like to say here that we need to keep the forms, even though they're back from when Mum and Dad were kids, because we need them out on the atia. And I've seen them used during Destiny Church when they came out, and different tangis when we get a real big one, we need those extra chairs. And I've seen them used out there on the atia for weddings also. So having them over in the shed is not interfering with anybody. In the meantime, we can just put them over there and they're out of sight, out of mind, but we know where they are.
Ka pai, Auntie Jenny.
Oh.
I guess the problem for us is lack of storage and having to double move things. But yeah, kei a koe, Pat, kōrero mai.
Jenny, thank you for sharing that with me as well. The shed where the lawnmower is going to be going back to rest as well when we're ready to start mowing. So, but what I've noticed in the shed, there's mildew in there, Jenny. There is rats and the odd mare getting in there also. So it's a big task in there, Jennifer, to clean it up so it can hold on to our tables and our chairs. So give it some thought, some good thought, because I don't want you coming back next month and say, oh, no, we can't do it. And you and Michael go and have a look. And if it's for free, get back to us. Thank you.
Bye, kia ora. We'll come to you, Nadia, and then we'll come back to you, Auntie Jenny. Nadia, kei a koe.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Patrick, Kazi Patrick, for reminding us actually of the hands that actually went into relocating those tables and forms. I do recall that moving them from the farmhouse to Mairangi's was a short-term. Was only ever going to be a short-term arrangement until we were able to discuss it further. I recall also, and I can't remember when it was, but we had the Moruhu, I'm sure we agreed at some point that we weren't going to sell them. The other point I'll just make is that if they go, they're gone. So I think it's okay to keep talking about it while they're sitting in storage. They're good and they're safe there. I wouldn't like to see them still sitting there by Christmas. But we do have time to talk about it anyway. If they go, they're gone. And they're a little bit of a taonga as well, given the hands that went into making them. So I wouldn't like to just see them be gone. There's a couple of potential options there, RD1 being one of them. Preferably would like to keep them on site so that we can keep track of them, but we can keep talking about it anyway. And in the meantime, that they're safe over where they are. And just thank you, Patrick and Faye, and those who helped to relocate them as well. Really appreciate it.
Kia ora, Nadia, thank you. I think it's good for us to know that we've got a time frame, and then we can still continue to discuss. So I think that'll be, that's a good option at the moment for us. So I've got that's the tables and chairs.
Excuse me, Damon. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Just want to remind that at 11:30 we have Te Aroha Hohaia time slotted in to present the
Kia ora.
digital report.
We'll finish off the whare updates. So Alina, I think we're just up to the email now in regards to the Rangi Kapuia Bank.
Ka pai, the link is in the PowerPoint now. I'm not too sure if you'll have to refresh.
Oh yeah, under Rangi Kapuia.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, tuhi ao conversation, ka pai, and then I'll just share that. All right, ka pai whānau, and then we'll come to you soon. Te Aroha, nice to see you there. Okay, whānau, here we go. So we're just going to share now there's our email from the 2nd of April. So kia ora, Damon, please find an email from PPT Chair with an update regarding infrastructure and drainage on the wider Papakainga. As Tuhi was unable to attend, Kawe Papakainga is the subcommittee responsible for Papakainga Kaupapa and Chair is Rawinia. Tungia and Wakarihi are also members of the subcommittee. And if any are in attendance on Sunday, they will be best placed to answer any questions that arise. I'll also forward under a separate cover to trustees, the draft PPT work plan reference. So that's what Lena had shared. It's been approved and endorsed by the Kawe and PPT board. So here's Tuhi O's kōrero. Whānau. He mihi nui kia koutou, e ngā whānau o Toroanui marae. My apologies for not being present today at your monthly hui, as I have gone to the Taranaki Rōpū to tautoko the mihi and karakia for whānau and friends of Matu and Moana Jackson. So hoping to have a conversation with you all about storm water works for the marae. Please find enclosed work plan from PPT covering the flood repair works. We have placed stormwater works for Toroanui and Te Niho in our top 5 priorities. We're already progressing the week with 2 of them in regards to the Waitotoroa Awa repairs and have restarted conversations with Becca and Kāinga Ora around what is needed for Toroanui. There is some funding available for marae assessments and infrastructure capital works, so our PO2 is starting those applications soon, and we'll be in touch with you to confirm any details required on your behalf. If you have any information or suggestions, now that could help her get what you need to finish the stormwater works, please don't hesitate to contact her. We estimate from the indications that the funding will take a few months to be approved, and again a further few months to complete assessments and actual work. In the interim, Kawepapa Kāinga are suggesting that you may want to finish connecting your downpipes and guttering under the new footpath to at least take the water away from Te Rānui if we get torrential rain again soon. During the flood, we cleared the exit point on the corner of the Maho, just with spades to let the water flow away from the doors, but having the pipes in place would clear the water more easily and allow you to complete the footpath. It may also be necessary to temporarily dig in some overflow pipe across the front of the Maho to send the stormwater towards Waitotoroa. We realise your financial constraints now, so these are works that could be done by whānau on the path for minimal cost, while a permanent solution is found. The rainwater garden idea may need to be turned down if it requires connection to the downwater pipes. That will be a decision only you can make. He oti anō, I hope that it is useful for now. Please let us know your thoughts on these suggestions to progress your works forward. Okay, ka pai. Lena, he pātai o he kōrero, kai a koe.
Hi, so from that email, my question is, can we still call a hui a iwi for rangi ka poia? Do we need a post-flood riverbank assessment to progress? Because we got one, which made things kaiti pai, but now we have the flood. Does that mean we need that assessment to go back to where we were?
Yes, good point. Yes, good point, Lena. Exactly right. Because the state of the bank has changed as a result of the flooding. So that assessment is going to be key for us moving forward. And I don't know if Te Aroha, do you have any comment on that?
So they had tēnā tātou. So they had the river manager from TRC come back very soon after the flood, the week after, as well as had Bart Jasma, who used to work for TRC, and they both concluded that it would be necessary to actually restore some of the riprap wall, some of the boulders, to rebolster what has been essentially stripped away. One of the challenges is that with the tuna living there, there's some concern about interrupting their life, potentially even killing them by doing that work. And so one of the moves that needs to happen is to actually train them to eat or to feed somewhere else while that repair work is underway. So once the boulders are back in place, then another assessment. So the river manager said that that's what it will take to restore that footbridge, but they would probably want to have another closer look at it.
Any further comments, whānau? Thank you, Te Aroha. Minna, and then come to you, Lena. Sorry, Minna.
Yeah, ka pai. I think just to answer, we should just address Tuhiao's points raised. Do we want to have someone discuss with the Pāhautu about the applications and our needs? That's one of the points she flagged for that to follow-up action. And then I think she talks around the putting in the downpipes and the Nova flow, which are two, well, the Nova flow in particular under the ramp is still something we need to address as Toroanui, which because we don't have we were thinking of a paved solution, but we don't have the funds to do that, so which may come out later, but we were thinking of perhaps doing that ourselves, or if we had any other funds we could distribute that way, then we could resolve that paving under the, the Nova flow under the concrete ramp, that, well, the bit that's missing. So I think firstly we just need to resolve to respond to Hiao's kōrero by saying, yes, we do want to have a kōrero with the Pohautu about what's going in an application and what are our needs?
Ka pai mena. Yes, the answer is yes, we do. I know we sent an email back in February, I think, requesting a hui to discuss that further. So yes, we do. So Lena, I think that's probably one of our next actions is to follow up on that response to Tuhiao. And I mean, we've got already a lot of our pricing and quotes around our mahi and work. So yeah, I know that they are looking to put some of this mahi in under assessment, and but I don't know whether, you know, we've done all the assessment, we've got our quotes. It's almost like we just need to move with it, because we're going to do another assessment that's going to tell us the same thing, and we're going to have to wait for another 6 months. So my thinking is that, you know, I think that if we did that, we could take all of the information that we have and see what we could, what could be applied for, what we could qualify for. So yeah, tautoko. Lena, kai a koe he kōrero?
Just regarding Te Aroha's conversation in regards to the boulders and tuna life, my question is, can any of the whānau put those boulders back, or does it have to be done by a registered somebody?
The boulders will need to be put back using a digger, an excavator who can actually carry that size boulder and replace and put them in place, and then if necessary add others in on top. So it's a heavy piece of manual work.
So should a whānau come up with a digger and labour, my question is, can the whānau do it? Is there a process to follow, such as, would the whānau have to approach PPT?
My understanding is that yes, the whānau, there's nothing to, actually there's no, I can't.
So if there's a
whānau, let's have a chat at PPT. You can have a chat with the Poho too, and with Kawe Papakainga. And then if that's a piece of work that they can do, then they can sort out how that might happen. But it certainly does require a digger. It will require, yeah.
And in regards to tuna life, would we have to contact you, Patrick? Are you still there, Faye and Patrick? Kia ora, Faye, how are you? Kia ora, kōrua, kia ora whānau. So in regards to tuna life, for at the Pekarangi Ka Puea, would whānau have to contact you to talk about that? Pat?
Putting boulders and stuff in. Uncle Rocky
yeah.
didn't have a problem.
So let's go back to when the last journey we had with the rocks at the back of Rangi Ka Puea. And I can remember our tupuna, who Ministry of Works, worked in different avenues of that type of mahi here out the coast. So they come together, and because they were involved in that environment, they brought the big boulders back from their places of work, and they laid it there behind the Rangi Ka Puea. But it was a big job, and it was a lot of work, and it is definitely a specialty role to play. So yes, I do think we need to do it once and do it properly. So aroha, yes, we need to carry this conversation on and to see where we are and what items and what tools we have available so we can carry on this journey. Kia ora.
Ka pai. Okay, we have Nadia and then Kui Whakaari here.
Thank you, Damon. I just wanted to make a note, and I attended the PPT hui last week. It was a good hui too, but just the point around PPT had, they have acknowledged that they need to prioritise this kaupapa, this mahi. So I just want to make that point there. And the other, I just wanted to make another point to Lena's question there is a health and safety aspect that's involved. And so if we were looking at involving whānau instead of contractors or going through a process, we would have to take that into consideration as well, because there is a risk element to that.
Kia ora,
Kia ora.
Nadia. Koe whakaarihia kei a koe.
Yeah, kia ora. I just want to, tautoko this kōrero from Te Aroha and Nadia about the health and safety, and that, yep, we do have to go back to PPT or talk with PPT, which is what I understand is going to happen with the I shouldn't say Pohotu of PPT. Now, we've got a conversation we're supposed to be striking up in regards to the drainage. Neha?
Right.
Yeah. Well, why can't we have your questions, Lena, answered at that particular hui? At that particular hui. About the tuna, I'm not saying that we don't, the expertise on tuna is not within us, but definitely, yeah, that is a big issue. Also, there is a timing matter. Neha te aroha. Yeah, no, I don't. The resource management team and the councils, there's a timeline when we can be putting machinery into the river and moving stuff. And I understood that would end for the year at the end of March. So, you know, just hopefully, I'm not saying that we can't do it, it can't be happen in April. I'm just saying that that was there. They have their ture. And the aroha mai, tato, whether we like it or not, we now have to talk to and consider a lot of other things, like consider the tuna, consider talking to the PPT who is in talks to the regional councils. And so all their rules and regulations, mō ngā awa comes into play. It's not, we're not as free as we used to be, as our old people were, to get in and do what has to be done. We don't, I don't believe we have that freedom anymore. We gave that up. So, yeah, so ask your questions to Te Pohotu if you're going to be at that hui. Yeah, tira nui ho tāku. Because we need to nurture relationships. We need to nurture relationships, not just between ourselves, but with our Papakainga Trust as well. Kia ora.
Ka pai. Mena kei a koe.
Kia ora. So yes, just to say that yes, we do, obviously that hui now with the Pohotu is going to cover the assessments and the funding and the riverbank and the queries and the health and safety. But I'd also like to say that what we could do is reach out to our tuataiao, Tihikura, who's our local tuataiao from Te Kāhui, for his thoughts and any info and intel that they have around our tuna and keeping them safe.
Ka pai, kia ora. All right, well, thank you very much, Whānau, for your feedback. I know that Te Aroha's come in for a conversation now around Toroanui Marae's digital installation update and report. So, Te Aroha, I'm going to hand over to you because I know you've got your mokopuna there too with you. And then I know that Auntie Jenny also just has a query about the colour of some of the decor of the equipment. So if I hand over to you first, Te Aroha, we'll do the kōrero. Did you want me to share the slide?
Yes, please. Yep.
Okay, ka pai.
It's in GP, Damon, the link, 14C. Oh,
Awesome.
got it.
So I understand this report's been sent out to you earlier and can take it as read, but happy to go through each of the slides. So on the next slide, it just highlights the timeline that we've taken. So it started in 2019, coming through to 2022, when we've had this most recent piece of installation work that's been done. Yes, carry on to the next slide, please, Damon. So just to highlight, so the signal, just so that you know, the signal comes in from the Katoro tower, which sits on Parihaka X, and that's illustrated by the purple arrow. It lands at Te Pai, and from Te Pai it goes across to Taniho. And this is just merely a line of sight convenience. From Taniho, there's a signal that goes across to Toroanui and another one that comes across to Te Whare Wakaruru. Yeah, so the one to Toroanui is the one in red. And then what it does is, we could go to the next slide, please, Damon, is it lands at this device here, which you've seen on top. And this is really a signal receiver. And it goes down into on the next page, there's a picture of, oh, forgot about this page, yeah. So it arrives at that signal. So what's been put in at Toroanui just recently, on the 8th of March on those days, are these items of hardware. So the only two Wi-Fi access points at Toroanui, 2 cameras, 1 data switch, 1 cabinet. What's not been installed, at your request, of course, is the TV Polycom setup that allows you to do Zoom, and that's just being held over until a future date. Also not installed is 1 camera. When I met with you last month, when we were talking about it, you talked about how you wanted to have a camera on the inside, but when we actually got inside, it proved that actually there's just too much work to be done that would just result in the camera being shifted. And of course, we were fortunate to have the Pepper Construction site manager site foreman there on the day, and he was able to confirm it would be better to leave it. And so it's been left. Also not installed, and that I'm waiting to hear back from Primo, is a modem. So you don't actually have internet at Toroanui. I didn't realize that this is when you were talking about how you didn't have internet, that this is the reason. You haven't had a modem there for a fair while. I don't know when it got removed, and I've not yet heard back. Also to note that over at Mahikuare, we've installed 1 access Wi-Fi point. And you'll see in a picture later on where that's been placed. Then 2 days later, a Selfie booster got installed, and this allows you to have a better voice coverage, no matter whether you're on Vodafone, 2 Degrees, or Spark, yeah, and Skinny. It will just boost your voice capability. It's not data, it's just voice, 3G. So on to the next slide. So this is where it comes into the cabinet. There's now a cabinet installed, and you can see that there it is up high above. Previously, it was just some loose wires. So there's that cabinet, there's a data switch that's been put in there. We're waiting for the modem to be reinstalled. And while we were there, we discovered actually there's no power in those power points, but that could be just a matter of waiting for the upgrade work to be finished. On to the next page. From this cabinet, it then goes to various Wi-Fi access points. So one of them is this little square rectangle thing just to the left of that cabinet. So this particular Wi-Fi point actually covers the whole of Toroanui, and we tested that. Yep, that's the first of 3. The next one is outdoors, I believe.
Oops.
Yep. The next one is outdoors. Oh, go back one. Just go back.
Oh, sorry.
This one, as you can see, it's just outside. So this helps give coverage to the outdoor area. I didn't test it, because there's no power, but it'll be interesting to see if actually we'll be able to get Wi-Fi from your place, Fire Bay and Matua Patrick, to see if you get coverage there. But the biggest piece of coverage is that it covers the car park. So in the future, if you ever have those conferences where you have a marquee set up, that this is intended to help give coverage to that space. The third Wi-Fi access point is actually in the ceiling cavity at Mahikuare. So you won't have this blue light shining when you're indoors, and it also gives coverage to the outdoors. So now you've got Wi-Fi access. You will have, when the modem gets installed and it's all connected, you'll have Wi-Fi access point inside Mahikuare and for a good portion of the marae Aotea out front. deciding where to put it specifically on the day was something that was discussed with the site foreman, just to make sure that the cabling could get in. Yes, next page, please. So when the Wi-Fi does go live and the modem is in place and the power is reinstated, there'll be these Wi-Fi networks that will be in place. Already in place, but yes, already in place is one called PPT. So that applies across all of the sites. There's a network called PPT, and it means that when PPT has hui in those other various places, they can access their internet. And then there's going to be one called Katoro, and that's listed on the bottom, and that's going to be the equivalent to a public Wi-Fi, just like when you go to the library or McDonald's, depending on if you use that one, or here in Hawera with that they've got in the middle of town. But specific to Toroanui, there'll be one that's called Toroanui, and that's just for the, well, it's intended to be. It's intended to be just for the committee members, for whānau who are regularly in there, haukainga, those who are in the kota regularly, and they have access to a particular network. And the plan is to actually set it up with a password that's more meaningful to you than perhaps one that you might have had previously. So it might be, say, Toroanui with a password like Toroanui, so it's very much your own password. Then there'll be another network, and that'll be specific to the TV bundle, and it's just been called at this stage for all of them. It's Te Mata ki Toroanui in your case, other places ki Te Paipai ki Te Whare Wakaruru, and that's just a network specifically for the TV bundle. So you're going to end up with a whole lot of networks, but there'll be one that you'll be able to access straight away by yourself. For your administrator in the future, say if you have the Principals Association come and do have a 3-day hui wānanga event, you'll be able to set them up a Wi-Fi network just for them. And actually, that's really that's aside from it being convenient, and it just means that they can access something that's specific to them. It also means that you'll be able to count how many people were there, and it helps with your tracking of visitor numbers, so that you can help support other future funding applications that might want to know, well, how many did you have this year or last year? That's its intention. On to the next, please. Of the cameras, 2 of 3 were installed. One is this one here that's over the back door. And on the next page, you'll be able to see this is the coverage. And it's been deliberately made so that you can't see into the backyard, but you can see at least across the car park. You'll be able to see someone coming in through this door. And of course, you'll also be able to see someone coming in through that door that's just around the corner there where the ladder is, because you can see through the window. If someone accesses through anywhere, you can see through there, and you can see immediately below and potentially coming around the side. All of those cars are just the tradies who were there on the day. On to the next one. This camera is actually, at the last meeting, you talked about having it installed up on the apex of the maho at Toroanui in order to get the coverage, because you'd identified that the green shed way around by the footbridge, as well as the doorway to Mahikuari were important. And it's been put on the walkway on the Aotea side of the walkway. That's in relation because your roof is going to actually drain off. And so it's just to get the best spot, and it's on a hockey stick. And the site foreman who was there on the day talked about that. They'll be able to work around that. So what you can see through this camera, when it's at its widest view, which is on the next one. So on the far left, you can see the doorway to Mahikuari and even into the wharepaku, around to the left to the, around to the right, the far right, to the green shed. Now this is the camera at its widest view. So you can see along the bottom that there's actually a magnifying glass, minus on the left, plus on the right. So so in this case, it'll be Minna. If Minna were to go into those cameras, she'll be able to zoom in to any of those spots in this range of view. And of course, you can see across to the other side to the Tomokanga from up on Te Paipai. So that's what you can see there. So that's the second of 3 cameras. The third one's not installed, and they're just going to wait until the kitchen is ready to be, or near ready to be recommissioned. And the same thing is happening with over at Tiniho. They've also, we've also held back on one of their cameras too. So that just works out. Last time you talked about signage, so I've had a look around to see what would be required. And so now I'm proposing that actually all of them will have something that looks like this. Security cameras operating, just so that people know that there are security cameras operating. And that, of course, these cameras are authorised, and in this case by Toroanui marae, and that the queries can be directed to. The Google search for New Zealand situations on security cameras suggests that it would be good to have a name and a number to call. So the proposal is to have these little A6 vinyl fitted bits that can be affixed with double-sided tape to the walls, and that an even smaller one that can be handed out to hui whenever you might be organising something, just so that people know that there's cameras operating. They can be turned off. We've discovered that. Well, actually, you can. They can be turned off. We know that because over at Tiniho, while Nahina while she's staying over there, she's turned off the inside camera. Yeah. The other thing that's been installed is the sock that's on the left-hand side. So that sock is they call it a sock. I don't know, it's not floppy like a sock. It's kind of a hard triangle. And that's, again, the cell phone booster mechanism that allows for good voice coverage. Now, I didn't think of taking a picture of the cabling, but I'm well aware that the cabling is not that nice green that you've got up there. So there was conversations about whether to, on the choices of places to put it, and the place that it is the place that it is underneath the gables, underneath the, what do you call those things? Eaves. Underneath the eaves and the gabling, that was the least intrusive of the colours. Otherwise, it was going to be this white band across your very nice green flashings underneath the eaves. They are paintable. If it turns out you'd like to paint them, they are paintable. Over to the next slide, please. One of the admin pieces is that there will be this portal that's available. So you've already appointed Mina as your administrator on that. And just for backup purposes, we've also got Kiki Ruakere, who provides a lot of the IT support for PPT. And at the time being, I'm a third person in there. We're planning to have some training for all of the administrators across the whole Papakainga, and we'll do that as soon as all of the sites are live and we're able to actually access them, and you actually do get an invite to the system minute when it's ready. And that will be a piece of training that Spark will help with to make sure that we know how to set up networks for visiting for manuhiri groups, and to access footage for the cameras. Yeah. And the next, and that's the update. So happy to take questions.
So Auntie Jenny had a question. Auntie Jenny, or query. Kaya koe Auntie Jenny, kōrero mai.
Yeah, aroha. My query is, you know, where you've got this black box in the kitchen. I don't like that colour. It doesn't go with our decor. Our decor is white. Is there any possibility of having it changed to white? Please.
I'll ask them. I've never seen a white cabinet, but I'll ask them.
Yeah, because, you know, if you were putting it into a rich home, there's no way that you'd put that in, or they would install that as a black thing if it didn't go in with their decor.
Okay.
Ka pai. Kia ora, Auntie Jenny. Thank you.
Thank you, aroha.
Ka pai, Nadia, kaya koe.
Yeah, thank you, Damon. Thank you, Te Aroha, for that update. Just wondering, is there any risk involved in keeping the Wi-Fi connections open for to the public, or having a guest kind of portal? I just always sort of question why we have to keep our internet on lockdown when there's a good opportunity to open it up to the Papakainga, and even maybe a question for PPT in terms of their connectivity as well. You just said that it reaches far and wide. Is there any security risk to having it open for everyone? And I do have a whakaaro behind that, but I'll just let you answer that question.
The security risk comes with how far afield you share the password, and they can be changed from time to time. But that's the purpose of having different networks. So Kātoro, which will be the equivalent to a public Wi-Fi, they'll have access to it, and the intention actually is to give them slower access so they don't use up all the Wi-Fi, but enough that they can check Facebook and stuff like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And so is that just because there's a security risk to that, or just needing to manage how much Wi-Fi has been used?
There is a limitation to how much Wi-Fi it's. But it depends. If everyone were to be on there and watching Netflix, that would certainly gobble up everything.
Sure.
But it's quite
okay. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Thank you. The only reason I was asking that is I was in a hui the other day where the stats around internet connectivity in South Taranaki were pretty poor, and that has a wider social impact for Māori, obviously, because while schools, especially in our lockdown, were handing out devices so that our tamariki could learn, there was a connectivity issue, and that's around affordability as well. So I guess I was just perhaps putting something out there in terms of anything that we can do to break down some barriers and especially learning barriers by opening up the Wi-Fi to the papakainga. That might be an option, and I was just seeing if there were any risks associated with that. So it's all around how much Wi-Fi can be used and that. Okay, all right, thank you.
Hi, Nadia. Te Aroha, one of the issues that we've had with internet is that we had the diagram that showed the purple line to Te Paipai, and then from Te Paipai to Te Niho, and then Te Niho to Toroanui. In between Te Niho, or in that those arrows and direct lines, if Te Niho turns off their modem or turns off their Wi-Fi, then that affects us. Or if Te Paipai turns off theirs, then that affects everybody's. Is there been some future-proof processes in place around that, or is that still the case that we have to make sure that each of the marae modems or switches are on in order for us to receive internet?
We're always reminding them to make sure that they don't turn off that particular piece of equipment. And so each of the cabinets have their own dedicated power points. It doesn't mean that they're wired in like your stove is. It just means that power point is, in theory, reserved for the cabinet. And I have a couple of times been over at Te Whare Wakaruta and walked over to Te Niho and says, I think you've turned off the internet. Can you turn it back on? But
okay, so that's still going to be a possible challenge. We just got to make sure that we have the process in place, that we've got connectivity across the marae or across the park. Are there any last questions, whānau, before Te Aroha gets back to her mokopuna?
Thank you for the time slot. I haven't seen them in person for months.
Yes, no, well, you go and join your mokopuna, Te Aroha. Thank you for your time. Kia ora.
Ngā mihi koutou.
Okay, whānau, we're just going to now jump back out of general business and back into item number 10 on our agenda, which was Toroanui Marae PPT report. And I know we've spoken already a little bit about the drainage, about Tuhiao's email, next steps for our restoring our kohatu on the bank behind Rangikapuia. So, Kui Whakaari here, do you have anything else that you wanted to add to the PPT report?
No, I can't. I haven't been to a PPT the last two, hui. And just no, I don't think I have, because the flood things and the bridge, the back of Apui, those were the main things of PPT for us that I could handle.
Yeah, thank you.
And you all know about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's anything you want to know, ask. It might, might remember something, but otherwise, kaore.
Okay, we move to item 11.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there anything you fellas want me to take to the next PPT hui?
Nadia, kei a koe?
Right, thank you, Damon. Yes, thank you, Auntie Whakaata here. I'd just really like to convey that I attended the PPT Publicui last week. It was 2 hours long, just or 2.5, I think, but it was a really good hui. It was very informative. I believe that our chair, Tuhiao, acknowledged Toroanui and the need to have a conversation around the drainage issues. But I think it was a really well-informed hui. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and the fact that it was relatively short as well. But that's not the point. I just thought it was a really well-informed hui. So if you can just pass on an appreciation for the way that was conducted and led, that'd be really wonderful. Thank you.
Ka pai.
Tēnā koe, Nadia.
Okay, whānau, we're going to move into now item 11, which is our Toroanui Marae project interface. Mina, did you want to speak to some of this kōrero? PGF mahi?
Tēnā tātou. So our project interface report from Maya hasn't been, she's got handwritten notes, which I couldn't read, but she will update us. But essentially, what I can say generally is that Pepper have been doing the bits and pieces that they've got left on their list, which is great. But I think their next focus is for Pepper themselves. They haven't sent, so this is a bit of guesstimation, they haven't sent what they're going to do when they're going to do it list yet. But they were working in the kitchen, demoing all of that stuff, which was done last month. And this month they were doing the fence around the septic tank by the toilets. So there are a few bits and pieces like that, but I haven't been there physically myself, so I can't see. And neither has Maya, actually. I mean, she has more recently, that's her handwritten notes. But it's not so much we're in the dark, but we're not quite sure. We've always known that, for example, lino is the last thing, simply because that's just how it will go, what works best. And so my understanding is that painting's going to happen, and the interior, what do you call that stuff? Interior Toroanui Ortex, the acoustic on the walls. So they're the two things that I know are kind of on the hit list next. And then the one other thing on the outside is the electrical mains, which comes from Maikuare, wraps around the outside of the current walkway, and then comes into the mains box, which is on Toroanui. So I know they're the two bits of work, well, two inside and then that third one outside, that Pepper had on their hit list in the next few weeks. But they haven't confirmed that. I've asked them about 4 times to say, what are you doing? When are you doing it? And they've always said, oh, well, the lino's last. I said, yep, got that. That's where that is at. But what is still outstanding is our decision on how we're going to address the concrete ramp in the section that's not finished.
Ka pai, ka pai. So that's the latest update on PGF, with the anticipation that work will be finished end of Easter or end of April. So that's, and as Mina said, we're still waiting for that forward schedule that we've requested, and we have asked that went in a most recent email, and that we requested the forward schedule before the invoice is paid. So we have received an invoice for about $14,000 worth of work at the moment. So yeah, it's been a bit of has been a big challenge, and I mean, we'll be glad to see the end of the project. So thank you, Mina. And mihi ana ki a koe ngā huia. Lovely to see you in here, and just a acknowledgement of your kuia. Auntie Frances wairama aruku wai, and he tangi ana ki aia, tangi tonu, me te whakaroa nō rā, kai te noho rāua tahi, me tō karaua, te iwi kahu. Nō reira, nau mai koe ngā hui.
Nā mihi.
Are there any pātai or questions on PGF whānau? I know that we've got later on in general business, we've got the DAS electrical quote, which we'll speak about, but are there any other pātai around the PGF project? Carl? Okay. Ka pai, Auntie Jenny, kei a koe, kōrero mai.
What number is that, Damon?
We're on 11 on the agenda.
I've got nothing ticked.
Ka pai, okay. Kei a koe whai.
I just wanted to touch base with you, Minna, in regards to the floors in the showers.
Yeah.
What's happening there?
So that comes under the lino. That's the lino
okay.
contractor. So he's always the last person.
Yeah.
For our build. The lino, which is also the shower diverter bit, is the last, scheduled as last.
Cool, thank you.
Ka pai. Auntie Jenny, I saw your hand. Yes, kei a koe.
Just to say out loud, we're still working to, because we haven't been told otherwise, a pre-Easter finish, which is roughly around the 14th. I think 14th is the Thursday before Easter, Friday.
Yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks time. Ka pai, Auntie Jenny, kei a koe.
Okay, I'm sorry. Recommendation number 1 of number 11. That's to do with the cheaper option to concrete and ramp. Recommendation number 2 from Chrissy Phillips as a cheaper option. That's a solution with double handling and double costing. Could a great option work? And Maya has said, Maya and Chrissy are going to talk more about what worked within the allocated amount of $2,000. Is anything? Well, neither of them are there, are they?
No, neither of them are there, but Maya, in a separate email, Maya and Chrissy, well, I'll talk to Maya first. She came up with some options, and then her suggestion was just to use Pepper's and their quote, which was, as I reminded her, that's the $10,000 quote we can't afford. And so Chrissy has done a little bit more follow-up, and so she's tentatively reached out and found a few things, and so doing a paved option is the best option because then we don't concrete it. And so she found online 12 square metres of free pavers in New Plymouth. They're ugly, but they would be sufficient. So really what it comes down to was, can we as a whānau do it at no cost or just material cost? Or do we look to find more money to do it so it's done quickly when Pepper leaves? Because otherwise, I don't know if we have the skill set or the capacity to do it ourselves. But if we do, then we should consider that because there will be a cheaper option.
And we wanted to have it done before, at the same time as all the works have been done, so it's all completed, ready for us to move in without having to worry about it later on. So
I think one of the key points to note is that we can't open until we resolve it because it's a hazard. It's a health and safety hazard.
Auntie Jenny, and then we'll come to you, Lena.
Damon, would you like me to speak to Michael about that? Talk to you or to you and Minna or whoever?
Yeah, yes, Auntie Jenny, and just send us an email.
I'll pull a ringawera into out.
Thank you. We all, or let us know and then we can all do that. Let us know a date.
Yeah.
Ka pai. Lena, kei a koe.
What Auntie Jenny's saying. So what's the mahi that needs to be done? Just lay down those pavements and paint them perhaps, or?
Just pavers, Lena, just pavers. We're
Just
looking
lay
at,
them down.
but then it would need to be boxed. You'd
Yeah.
need to have sand base and then pavers laid within the
Alright.
boxing, within the boxing.
Oh, ka pai. Oh, well, I'll wait to see what Auntie Jenny comes up with, and I'll
Ka pai.
talk with her about it, getting some
Aye.
labourers in. Ka
Aye.
pai.
Okay, whānau, so thank you for that. That's great. We're going to now move into, did you have another one, Lena?
No.
Okay, ka pai. Number 12 on our agenda was He Kitenga Whakamua, and we had our Toroanui marae strategy plan outcomes. And of course, we all know that those both our Pūmaoma wānanga and path planning wānanga were both cancelled due to COVID and looking to postpone them. So is there anything else that you'd like to add from Minna and from Colleen around that? Ka pai. I know that in our last conversations regarding Pūmaoma was that there is a possibility that there, because of the late timing around cancelling Pūmaoma, that there could be a fee, a late penalty fee. So, Minna, do we have any response from Takawai around that?
Kia ora, no, he hasn't responded other than to acknowledge the cancellation.
Okay.
So, yeah, nothing
Right.
further on that.
Okay, ka pai. Thank you. Sorry, Auntie Jenny, still on the wānanga? Yes, kei a koe?
Yeah, that whatever it is, Mamo.
Pūmaoma, yes.
I'd like to acknowledge Minna and all the work that she did to get it going and get responses for those ones who were interested, and then boom, snapped right out of her hands just like that.
Kia ora,
It must have been really hurting.
kia ora, ka
I
pai.
was looking forward to that.
Ka pai, Auntie Jenny. Mihi ana.
I just also note, thanks, Auntie Jenny, but I think it was more so because we were all ready to do it, as opposed to, you know, mahi is the mahi part of it is what it is. But I do know that I think we're quite ready as a community to have those kind of discussions and to sort of be challenged in those ways. But you know, he hasn't. I did ask in the same email when I advised about the cancellation when the next possible dates were. So he said he would come back to me, but I haven't received anything yet.
Ka pai, kia ora Minna. Now, fundraising report, whānau. So I'm going to hand this over to both Natalie and Auntie Jenny, and in regards to the DIA grant. So, and I know that we've got a budget that was sent out as well. So firstly, just the congratulations as well, and to Auntie Jenny, Nat, and the committee, fundraising committee, for the positive response and great outcome for us as a marae. So thank you very much. We'll hand it over to you. Kia ora.
Ka pai, ate mauri e koutou. So a quick update is that we have been successful in securing the $60,000 from our lottery community funding request. So mihi ana ki a korua a koe Jennifer and whae Minna, because that was all the mahi done in the background to be able to get a funding request in. And it's been a wee while, so the lottery community takes a bit of a long process. So the request was put in November, and only in March do we get the outcome. The outcome has been great. So it's been fully funded, and the budget that's been sent out as part of the monthly papers is the budget that we submitted with the anticipated operational costs for the coming year. So in there is what we anticipated would be needed to have a fully functioning fit for purpose kota as part of the PGF that wasn't in scope. And so this tunnel was put in to get the kota primarily. There's about $30,000 plus aside in there for the kota, and the other items are anticipated costs. So that budget came from the landscape A4 that Matua Rawiri tabled at the AGM, and then some other costs were logical costs were also put forward for this. For example, rubbish removal and cleaning and hygiene supplies, just knowing that we're coming into hosting requirements that will create as a community around what cleaning looks like when marae bookings are made. So that is the lottery community funding outcome. There's going to be a hui soon as everyone is well to discuss, I guess, the purchasing and the sequencing of what items come in. And there's lots of moving pieces at the moment until we have peppers off-site, and then we get the fan. And so there's a few moving things happening, but once we're there, we can then start to schedule the purchase of the bigger items to get the kitchen functioning, and also what else is needed. So the fundraising committee is definitely not the decision maker of what is needed. We are just the enabler of getting those things so that everyone has what they need to operate. So that is the DIA funding. At our last Huia Marama, we also got endorsed 2 things. One was to apply to Oranga Marae to complete our marae development plan. For lack of better words, that's a strategic plan. So we have started to draft up what that request will look like. And we've also reached out to Whaia Colleen to provide a quote. That's her skill set, her expertise to host those series of wānanga with us and potentially author the marae development plan itself. As well as being great for us to have a strategic plan and knowing what we need to do and the priorities as a community, it is also the key that unlocks the bigger money from the Oranga Marae Fund. So once we have that strategic plan, we've hosted those series of wānanga, we can then start to access the bigger monies that are available when we're ready. Funding rounds come and go, so but when we're ready, we can then go forward with the plan that we have. So that was one. We anticipate the quote will come in and we'll be able to put that funding request in within the next couple of weeks. The other one was the Matariki Puanga funding from Te Arawhiti. So at the 18th, connected in with Oars and Koimata, and so they expressed that the Puanga Kairo Trust would look to make an application to that fund. So they had the information, and I just need to follow up to see if a tono was put in, but that was the intended plan, is that a tono would be put in from the Puanga Kairo Trust and that we would participate in that series of activities. That is going to be on the 11th of June, from my understanding. Let me just triple check the calendar. Yep, so Saturday the 11th of June is when I'm pretty sure that kaupapa will be happening. The other one on our radar was the Tangata Whenua Liaison Fund. So this week we have all the information we need to submit last year's report, and then we're going to apply for this year's grant, which was extended. So they were originally closing it this week, but it's been extended by a month. And that will be to get the talk supplies for the mahi kuare wharipaku and the dark linen as well, and a vacuum cleaner, and the things that we talked about last Huia Marama. And also just a reminder, if anyone has anything, to either email Koe Jennifer or myself. We've got a wish list in the Google documents. For example, I've got security lights on there because that was raised at the one of the earlier Huia Marama, and we just keep a list of anything that anyone's asking for so that we can keep it on our radar, and we know that this is a demand, well, it's a need identified by the community. And then, so that's those ones. And then the next one on our fundraising calendar was the Mātauranga Māori Marae Order Fund. So that was on our calendar, and it closes on the 27th of April. And so what can come under that fund, and this is just a conversation we're having, is the scope of the request could be to archive and digitize information that we have. Anything, the fund is available to support anything that retains and protects mātauranga. And I think this morning's events potentially mean that we should apply to have a Toroanui laptop, so that perhaps, you know, we're not reliant on a person and their device to come to Te Pari Wakaruru. And if we had a laptop, then that person can just pick it up from wherever it might be. And then, for example, I can drive out and I can plug it in because I don't have a laptop in my whānau. But this fund could help us to strengthen our ability to, you know, retain our mātauranga, and it would cover the purchase of a device as part of that. We could also look to possibly pay a little bit of a salary to someone who might like to coordinate that information or host conversations. Yeah, that's the only one on the calendar at the moment that we were, that's approaching a closing date of the 27th of April. But it's really up to us as a community if we want to pursue that. If we think we've actually got enough going on right now, kei te pai tira, you know, it's that's why we have these kōrero, to see if we would like to do more, or if actually we've got enough going on at the moment, and let's just focus on that. Kia ora. Yeah.
Ai. Ka pai. Mihi ana ki a koe, Natalie, koe Jenny and Jenny and Minna and the team, because you know, when you look at the budget and you look at our balances of our accounts, it's going to be a great injection of pūtea, given too that our marae has been closed for, you know, a good year and a half, that of loss of income. So and then we, not only that, we get our kouta, te rānui, pristine. So mihi ana. Thank you. Nadia, kōrero tau?
Thank you, Damon. Yeah, I just wanted to mihi to Minna, Auntie Jen and Natalie and everybody who also put in the mahi around our securing the 60K. The mata, I just have a couple of questions. The matariki puanga, the Puanga Kairo application, is Toroanui being asked to support their application, or are we applying for it as part of the funding application? I wasn't sure on that one.
Oh no, so sorry, my languaging lately is that they've put the tono in from what they were intending to put the tono in, and then as per all the other years, they just send out a pānui to say, could you do this or can you do that? And this is definitely my first time operating in this space. I usually just turn up and climb pūrepo. But in terms of the logistical side of it, I'm unsure, but it would just be a conversation with the trust, can reach back into Oz, see if they manage to put a request in and go from there. So there's nothing formal. There's no formal expectations at this point that I know of.
Thank you, Natalie. So it's really just can the three houses play a role in the actual day? Yeah. No, that kei te pai, yeah. No, thank you. That explained it really well. And the Mātauranga Māori Order Fund, yeah, totally support it. Just it depends on whether the funding committee has the capacity to put the money in, to put that tono in. I do support it for a number of reasons, and I think looking at digital devices, anything that we can do to, as they say, retain and protect our mātauranga, I'd be in support of that. And also just around that salary piece, we're just remembering that Taranaki iwi have put that pūtea out for us to maybe get access to, and also that other piece of mahi that we're doing with our whānau member, and if digitisation, archiving digitisation can be wrapped in as part of a salary that can come out of that funding, then we might have some fun, be able to utilise that other funding that we've got. So it's sort of, there's an opportunity to build on whatever we've been already offered. So yeah, I totally support it, but it's really, you know, do you have the capacity to do that mahi? If not, would you like to do it, and do you need extra help? Because that I can offer some help somewhere.
Ka pai, kia ora Nadia. We're going to come to you now, Ngā Huia, and then Kui Whakārihia. Ngā Huia, kei a koe.
First of all, big mihi to Damon and in terms of our pro queer who we lost over the past week. So thank you, Anna, for all your support, our wairua, our karakia, and physically. Just a great mahi for everyone in terms of all the finances and the fundraising. It's great to see progression in terms of getting some extra fruits here. So well done, Wano, in that space. And for me, I think as long as all of our bills are paid is the first priority to make sure that we're not in the red moving forward. Beautiful kōrero in terms of your kōrero, Natalie, in terms of getting some other resources for our wānau, for Toroanui, in terms of administration and laptops. So I think it's a really good idea too. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that we have all the right resources available to progress forward. So big mihi out to you, wānau. In terms of our mātauranga, there's also a digitised space where we also might be able to tap into in the forms of GIS mapping, and that can capture a lot of kōrero, pūrākau, pikitea, and sites of significance. So that'll also be a wish list too, Natalie, moving forward. I'm also in that space of GIS mapping, so in terms of what's been happening on the ground and for our infrastructure bits and pieces, that's actually quite good to utilise progressing forward. So that might be also a tono or a nice to have moving forward. And that comes with licensing, so licensing of the GIS mapping and things like that too. So I think moving forward in terms of that space, it's good to hear that kōrero. So I thought I'd better just, pānui tono mai from my knowledge of mahi too on the back end. So happy to help out where that may look like and what that might look like, depending on my own capacity of mahi.
Kia ora, Ngā Huia. Kia ora. Kui whakārihia kai a koe?
Ai, kia ora, e Ngā Huia. Ai, tau tuku ana ngā mihi kua utaina ki runga i tō whānau. Re, e te hui nei. Aroha nui ki o aine me o matua. Just two things. I've realised that I've missed. Sorry, Damon. And I've got to go back to the finance because I'm not at home at the moment, right? And this is where one of the problems is I'm not at home. But last 18, now what's this? April, March 18, on the 19th, I finished off the lawns at the pa, and the whānau came over. That's right, no, that's where I should start. I had whānau come back for that weekend, and they had a picnic at Toroanui on the 19th. And within their picnic, they put some koha into an envelope and gave it to me. So I just want to let you all know that I got this sitting at home. Also that because it was March, it was the Rauriki month, and those who contributed to Rauriki at that day, I have that envelope at home. So just please don't forget to remind me if you don't see it on the financials. So that was that one. And the other one is just to tautoko this kōrero regarding puanga, and so that we are all up to speed. Ever since that rōpū was created and had celebrated puanga at Parihaka, Toroanui has always been participating, the Toroanui whānau. You know, those who can and were there at the time, they were there. At the end of the hui, Toroanui also received koha from the hui. It was split 3 ways, okay? And that's been going for a long time. So I actually don't see why we should go in a different direction. It's been happening for a long time. We just need to find a spot that we like and hop in and help out in that spot. And it doesn't have to be all the same either. Yeah, kia ora. I just needed to put that there.
Kia ora, tēnā koe koe.
Kia
Mina, kai a koe?
Ai, tēnā o tātou. Couple of things just to note. I think I just want us to be clear. Are we okay to go ahead and apply to the Mātauranga Marae Water Fund? Because that's one thing. And then I just also wanted to check, Natalie, while I was saying that, when is it due, that Mātauranga Marae order, and when does it get advised? Just to kind of scope in my own head.
Okay, so the funding date closes on the 27th of April, and the outcome will be at least 4 to 6 weeks later.
Okay, ka pai, that's good to know. So somewhere around June, July?
Yeah.
Sort of in that mahi. Cool.
So do we need to move a motion?
I think that's one of the steps that we do need to formally do, because that wasn't included in our last month's one. But I do also want to say that, you know, all of those things we talked about, having digitization, and, you know, I guess as a great example of what we talked about in here is capturing, and I don't think it's an oral history project, but talking to the tuna mātauranga. And so having, you know, working with Tihi Kura for some of their, you know, what Te Kāhui does in that space, but then also capturing ours, or even just documenting it might be part of, you know, some critical narratives that are kind of, you know, come about because of the flood, for example. But I also think, just going to your point, Ngahuia, around the GIS, I think that's really cool, but Te Kāhui actually does that. So they actually have a license, and so does PPT. So we actually just need to know, you know, we could utilize that in part of what we're doing. And I think maybe perhaps we should just reach back out to PPT around where their narrative journey is at the moment and what their oral history project is looking like. But I still think we should definitely shape our own and bring that into the mix. So, but yeah, that's exciting. But yes, I think a motion. Thanks, Damon.
Ka pai. So, whānau, with that then, let's move a motion to apply to the Mātauranga Māori Apple funds. We don't have to add anything more to that. I think it's just applying to the Mātauranga Māori funding application. So if you raise your hand, I just need a mover.
I'll move.
Minna will move. Do I have a seconder? Nadia to second. Now all of those in favour say aye. So if you just raise your hand, if you're an aye, and Nadia will take. Well, we got 3 there, Nadia, and Auntie Jenny's. We've got Faye and Pat. So just raise your hand, whānau, or put up your little, yeah, ka pai. And are there any Carl? Any Carls? No Carl, no abstentions. Ka pai. And Koe Whakari has got her hand up, so that's unanimous. That's unanimous. So tautoko ana, thank you for that. Okay, and again, just yeah, all the best with that application and the rest to come. I love the fact that we have a fundraising calendar that we are referring to, and we've got a kaupapa that we can apply to that fits what we're doing as a marae. It just shows great progress for us. And yeah, I'm just really wrapped. So mihi ana ki a koutou. Thank you very much for your hard work in that space.
Awesome. I'll just pass to Queen Jennifer, because I did a lot of talking. So any words, any input, committee member?
Damon.
Yes,
Can you
yes.
that, the resolution that regarding going forward, is it the Mātauranga application? Because the way it's written on our minutes for March, that the resolution was that, or I suppose that we agree for the Toroanui fundraising committee to apply to the following applications, which would be Mātauranga, the COGS, and the Oranga Marae one. And
Ka pai.
you know, so that, because I've
Yeah.
written them down because it's quite good because then we know what we're going for and what's been approved,
Yeah, tika koe.
or what's been approved anyhow. Because it
Yeah.
has to be in the minutes when we put them through to the to the toi or whoever we're going to.
Yes.
Piece in the minutes.
Okay, so just to be clear, we already have that in our minutes then, Auntie Jenny? We have number 1, tangata whenua liaison,
Yeah.
Oranga Marae Development Plan and Te Arawhiti. They are in our minutes from our hui that was held in March.
Yeah.
That's on number 13, page 6 and 7. Today's one is for Mātauranga Māori,
Yeah.
that resolution. So are there other resolutions that we need to add to that? Just like Auntie Jenny's saying, if we just put down Mina, kia koe?
Yep, kia ora. We should add to that the Toy Foundation annual grant. That's 1 April, it opens.
Toy
Open.
Foundation. Apai, are there any others that we need to add? So we've got Mātauranga Māori, we've got Toy Foundation.
May as well put COGS in there. COGS,
Yeah,
COGS.
let's do COGS. So those are the 3.
DIA lottery, is that going in?
I know that requires a bit more conversation before I'm ready to resolutionize that one. But kia ora.
Apai. So whānau, just to retract, the motion is that we apply for grants to Mātauranga Māori, Toy Foundation, and COGS. Do we all understand what COGS is? Yeah, just shake this.
Just remind me. No, I'm going to say no.
Nat, do you want to just speak to COGS?
Okay, so it's DIA money that's crown funding. And so we can apply for if we have a little project or if actually we need an injection into our operating costs. So we can resubmit the budget that we use for Lottery Community. So for example, you know, hopefully our tangata whenua funding request gets fully funded, but for some reason, if we only get 2,000 out of the 5,000 we asked for, we can go to, you know, we can apply to COGS for it's the same smaller grant between $3,000 and $5,000. And it can include the security lights. At this point in time, it's the only thing that's not covered in our tangata whenua. And also on the list is the storage shed for mattresses. And so that's a conversation in its own, because there's, you know, the immediate need of needing to store them, but also through some of these planning wānanga, what's our aspiration for the, you know, mahi kuare? Is it to have a bigger footprint where we actually have an internal marae storage, but it doesn't solve the immediate need for storage. But so that's also on my list, Faye. I haven't forgotten about that total span quote, the labour for $1,000 and the concrete pad. So that is also on this list. But that is one that I'm not too sure, because I think the conversation is bigger around immediate need being met and also what the future is, because I do hear that when we do these things, we need to do them properly. And so what does properly look like for marae storage? And that's not a huia marama conversation, but that is the conversation to have. And once we have that kōrero, what's our immediate resolution and what's our long-term plan for that stuff? yeah, haven't forgotten is what I was saying. That's not the answer to COGS, but I just wanted to put that out there that I'm still conscious of the mattress storage.
Kia ora. Lena, question?
Kia ora, Damon. So the draft motion is in slide 19.
Ka pai. Okay, whānau, now we have, yes, kei a koe hariata.
Tēnā koe whānau. I'd like... Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm on the fundraising committee, but I would like to come off it. I do have a lot of things on my own plate, and I actually do visit Jenny, and I like what Jenny, Minna, and Natalie are doing, and they're pretty awesome. So, yeah.
Kia ora.
That's all.
Kia ora hariata. Thank you for your mahi.
Thank you.
And did I see Lena? You have another, you still got your hand up? I know, kei te pai. Okay, whānau, so with that now, if we just go back to our motion is that we apply to, or we apply for funding grants to Mātauranga Māori, number 1, Toi Foundation, number 2, and COGS, number 3. So all those in favour, please raise your hand.
3 from us, 3, yeah. Where's my hand gone? Hey, are we on mute? Yeah, I'm not sure.
I can hear everything you're saying. No, I've just put you on mute, Auntie. So that's all of us. It's all of us there, whānau, that have raised our hands. Koe whakaari here, are you aye? I haven't seen her hand there yet, but oh yes, she is. Ka pai. That's unanimous, whānau. Ka pai.
So we're just using the original mover and seconder for this one, are we?
Yes, sorry.
Just
yes,
catching up.
we are.
Okay,
sorry.
cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Kia ora, thank you. Okay, we're just moving into general business, and number 14A was lottery community grant confirmation. Did you want to just speak to that, Nat? We already have, eh?
Yeah, that's how, but it leads mostly into the next one. So the lottery community grant, we applied for operational costs. So that we anticipated when we put that tono in November. And so the next line under general business is the DAS electrical quote. And that is hopefully with everyone's support, something that will need to come out of this lottery community operational grant. So it will probably come out under repairs and maintenance, but it is a cost that we need to absorb to be able to open and host. And so that is just the nature of the money that we're going to use. And so ZIA are okay because it's an operational cost. It's something that we need to pay to be able to operate. So that, if everyone's okay, do we need a minute or a resolution for our community, or?
Yeah, we got a motion there. So if I just read the motion, whānau, that the invoice for DAS electrical quote for the sum of $4,746.54 is to be paid by the funds received by DIA. Do I have a mover? Mover, just raise your hand, whānau, if you'd like to move that. Minna, do I have a seconder? A seconder, whānau, ka pai, Nat. All those in favour say aye, raise your hand. Ka pai, raise your hand. Auntie Jenny, are you a 3? Oh, ka pai, a 3 there. Koe whakaari here, you raise your hand. Yes, koe whakaari has. That's unanimous, whānau. Ka pai, well done.
The other, just while I'm just in this space, the other potential cost is for us, and I just have to keep focusing on what we need to be able to eventually open and host, is the possibility of needing to use the lottery community grant to cover the whole. So there's paving solutions in conversation at the moment, and that's until we land on the solution, but it's possible that the best option in that space is to pay someone and just get it done. And so just having a conversation with us all around the potential to use this pūtea to pay to get that hole sorted for the interim so that we can actually open the doors and host. But the only thing with that kōrero and that particular putia is that it will have to come out of one of the other lines. So that requires a bit more conversation, but I'm just putting that out there as a plan B, C or D, whatever it might be around. Right now, paving is a preferred option. Oh, hello, kia ora, kōrero mai.
Papai, Marlene?
Funding for the MBIE or whatever it was, you know, when we got the big grant, the money that was going to be used for that rain garden and stuff, shouldn't that be used for that instead of dipping into the funding for the kitchen all the time?
Ka pai, Jenny. So, yeah, kei a koe mana.
Kia ora, Marlene. So the rain garden drainage, they were all costs we couldn't afford. So we were always having to find that money. So the drainage that was originally, you know, there was a bit of, well, sorry, it wasn't drainage to start with. It was, what do you call that thing? Car park. And then it became drainage along the way. And then the drainage solution Pippa gave us wasn't fit for purpose. So we went out to Becca, had to pay for Becca $4,500 to give us a solution. And they come back with a rain garden and other things, which total package was $150,000. So not in our budget.
Okay.
I'm worried that if you're going to start dipping in for this, that, and the other, I mean to say, I know you have to get the place up and running, but we won't have anything to furnish the kitchen with. Is what I'm worrying about.
Ka pai. Kia ora, Marlene. Mihi ana. Ngā huia, and then we'll come to you, Nadia. Ngā huia?
Yes, just in terms of the what Auntie Marlene was talking about, the putia for that, was that not covered under the PPT infrastructure also, or is this totally different? Are we talking about the rain guard from Maikwāria to Toroanui, or?
Yeah, so that was part of the drainage solution that we had come up with through our Becca plan. So, but the amount of money for the whole lot was it was over $100,000 to do all of that. So we took elements or parts of that to do what we could afford. And now we're going to PPT to ask for some support around that and what they might be able to afford, which they've come back to us with opportunity to sit down and discuss it further. So at the moment, we've really landed on a makeshift solution whilst we wait for PPT to come to the party to help support the bigger drainage,
the bigger
the whole
infrastructure
park.
at the park.
Yeah, it just so happens that all the water comes to us.
Aye, because we're the lower ware, ne? And so just going on Auntie Marlene's, as long as we're not dipping into the kitchen renovation or funding, we just need to look at where we can get other extra funding to help pay for those costings, those other extra costings.
Aye. Nadia, then we'll go to Minna, and then we'll come to Auntie Jenny. So Nadia, kei a koe?
Thank you, Damon. Thank you, Natalie. Just in terms of your point around lottery accessing the lottery community grant to cover that hole, when do you need some feedback from us on that? Is it urgent this month or an ongoing conversation until we're done realising that we might be done by May?
Yeah, I mean, there's urgency that we need to get that. We need a solution quick to have it done. Okay. Ready for our opening, because it's a health and safety hazard. Okay. It is a hazard. Ka pai Minna, and then Auntie Jenny.
Yeah, kia ora. So just to reiterate what Natalie said at the very top of this the budget conversation, was that there's a line in there, repairs and maintenance. Sorry, that's for electricity, Natalie. So you're saying that there's something else in there that may have to use. So it could be something like rubbish removal, and other bits and pieces like that. But I think one of the best things is that the, what do you call it, Toy Foundation annual, which is usually 5,000 for us. That would probably be our best bet, with some supplemented from any other bits that lines in the DIA that may be able to come across if needed. So just to talk to Marlene's point, the kitchen storage units and the equipment and the catering and hosting, those items are still in the budget. So they haven't been touched from what we're talking about. But I also think that we need to, so the PPT, going back to the drainage thing, so in Tuhiao's email, which was read out earlier today, it says that we should investigate the drainage out the front of the atia to the awa ourselves. So I don't know if you guys picked that up. That's what it said, to do it our own selves at a minimal cost. So the rain garden was also mentioned, wouldn't be likely covered by PPT. So, you know, there's a bit to be discussed in that conversation, because I'm not quite sure now what they will cover. So just so that we're clear, because either way, our paved concrete ramp needs to happen so that we can open and we can walk safely up and down. And the interim, the paved solution puts just the Novaflow pipe that's already there. It just puts pavers over it and sand so that we can walk on it safely.
Ka pai. Lena, kai a koe? Oh, sorry, Auntie Jenny, then Lena, sorry.
Yeah, okay. I'll go back to the electrical for the stairs of $4,745. We have to pay that whether we like it or not, so that we can put so that when the extractor fan goes up, we can switch the switch to turn it on. That's got, so we have to pay that. As much as I'm in disagreement and abstain from it, it has to be done, because that 4,700 is taking money out of our funds of the $60,000 that we could be using for the kitchen, and that's what that $60,000 was, for stuff we needed in the kitchen. Okay, but that's outside the hole between, I think it's Maikuare and Ranui. That is as far as I'm concerned, that was created by the PGF, and that should have been paid by them. Once again, we got to take that money out of our fundraising of $60,000 DIA. So once again, we're what? So far, that's $7,000 odd dollars. It could be more, because we don't know how much those pavers are going to cost. We can get it sold, but we're only pinching it from Paul to pay Peter, or Peter to pay Paul, is if our money is given back from the project account that they took from the maintenance account in December. They took $16,000. You took $16,000 out of our maintenance account to pay a project account, and you haven't paid it back. You pay it back, all these bills will be paid. And we leave us to bring a weather alone so that we can get what we want. Because even though you talk about going and getting money from the TSB, the toy, $5,000 a year, you're talking about something we're going to be approaching further on in the year. Not today, that's tomorrow, next month. We've already got what we want, what we can apply for. We're in a new funding for what that Matarangi one is, a new funding. We don't go and get COGS until next month. That won't come through for 3 or 4 months. We need the money now so that we can open. So if you transfer the money back, take the pie, you'll be well loved. And that was caused, and I don't like to say this, but because the application that went to PKW for the grant for the extractor fan wasn't thought of in the whole thing. When you do these grants, you've got to think of it all of it in total? What does it in total? Everything. So yeah, I leave it at that. I go on to the next one. I mute. I
Ka
mute.
pai, kai a koe, Lena.
Never mind. Mahi tonu, Damon. Ka
Kai a
pai.
koe, Mina, kia ora.
Just a couple of response. Sorry, and I've got a noisy backyard. So much in that conversation, Auntie Jenny, but let's just stick to the facts part of it. So we can apply for TOI. It's available from 1 April, and it can be turned around in a matter of weeks. So that's just par for the course. The PGF, the ramp, that issue came about because we couldn't concrete it. We can concrete it and it wouldn't cost us anything. But do we want to do that? Last month, we said no. So that's why we're looking for a different solution. And sorry, I know it's noisy. And just with regards to what's the third one you said? I'm going to have to pause till we go. Oh, he's gone. So the last one was just around the electrical. So the PKW application went in fully formed. What we decided to do, and the Ringawera were part of that conversation, was to line the walls with stainless steel. That required alternate electrical responses, which is why it is now costing $4,700. So, you know, just keep it all in perspective, because all these things were considered, but it's an evolving feast. We've changed things quite a bit. Remember, we were going to go with polished concrete for our floors. We've instead gone with a lino. So that's, you know, it just shows how things have changed, ebbed and flowed over the whole 18-month duration to date. So, you know, it's just, it is what it is.
Ka pai, kia ora, Mina. Thank you for that. Okay, whānau, so with that then, we've passed our motion, so we can go ahead with the lottery grant or our application grant. So thank you for that. That's Mātauranga Māori, TOI and COGS. We've confirmed our DAS electrical and moved the motion, so that's great. We've done the digital installation. There's only one more thing to add, and that's the termination of Maya Bailey's project interface contract, which will be at the end of this month, April, with an invoice to follow. So Maya will be submitting that and we'll be able to present that at our next hui. So with that then, there's only our dates for April. We've got the 18th of April, our ngā rā o tōu rau ko te witi coming up. Our next hui a marama is on the 1st of May, which may pose a problem for me in regards to my mahi and work, but we'll work that out amongst us trustees. And of course, we've mentioned around the Puanga Kairo, June the 11th. And of course, the most exciting news is that we'll be back into our marae very soon, and that we will have an upcoming working bee as well. So just keep an eye out for the comms on that. But Hariata, I see your hand there. Do you have a kōrero? And then I'll come to you in a minute.
I do the cleaning of the toilets up at Toroanui, but I have promoted myself to the dining room. So I've been doing it on the 18th up at the Pai Pai. So when we reopen, I would like to hand the toilet keys in, please.
Kia ora.
I can carry on.
Hariata. And thank you for that. Thank you for doing that mahi for us. Mihi ana ki a koe. Mina, ki a koe.
Kia ora, Hariata. Hey, so I just wouldn't mind if you could just spell out to us what the possible options are for the deep clean reset working bee. Like, how does we all have an idea of what that potentially could look like? I'm assuming that all happens once Pepper leaves.
Yeah, good call. So at the moment, it looks like skip bins ordered to get rid of rubbish. It looks like tidy up around, well, the grounds, the landscaping, because there's a big pile of concrete that we have asked Peppers to get rid of. So I guess it's firstly going through Peppers leaving the site the way that they found it. So that's probably the first discussion. Secondly, organising a date for us as Morehu to come together, ordering the skip bins, removing any rubbish. And I know that our floorboards are still there, yeah? And that they need to, that floorboards need to be addressed at the front of the mahi kuare. Have they been moved? Are they still there? I don't know if I've not been out to see. Are the floorboards still there? Yeah, they are. Floorboards are still there. So, you know, that they need to be removed. And then there's a lot of, I guess, possible building materials or materials that whānau could uplift if they wanted them. Some of the doors and windows that are sitting at the back, that we, as a Morehu, had decided that, you know, we would wait to see what our decisions would be around that. And then we would need to, so that's addressing the outside. The inside, we would need to give a good clean up, ready to host whānau. So, I mean, I'm imagining that would be very similar to a COVID clean, I guess, is how I'd put it. And then after that's done, then we need to determine what guidelines Toroanui will move into when we start to host hui. And for that matter, tangihanga and the kawe mate coming up in June, because this is our 3rd year. It's 3 years since Toroanui has hosted kawe mate. So those are I mean, that at the moment, that's what's going through in my mind around what that might look like. So yeah, anyone else want to add more to their kōrero? Mina, kei a koe?
Oh, aye. So that's a very thorough, big list. It kind of feels like, I don't know if it's something we can talk to every monthly hui without, you know, dragging out and lengthening our hui, but perhaps there might be a hui around that, just that, so we get the kind of a bit more detail going on and what we can do in advance, and maybe that's next month we can do that. Maybe for, I don't know, whether it's before our monthly hui, regular hui, or just extend our hui out a little bit. So I think, well, hang on, having just said that, next month we'll make it the start of May. So people would have been off site, hopefully, fingers crossed. So is that going to work for us, or do we need to do it before Easter, before Pippa goes, or immediately after Pippa leaves? Just some questions around that.
Yeah, well, I think we need a plan before the end of the month, that's for sure. So it's probably going to look like a meeting in 2 weeks' time, I reckon, if we just discuss that on its own, about what the cleanup will look like. And then I think we move into our monthly hui in May, where we've already established a date, we've allocated different jobs, I guess. We've booked in what we need. We've talked about the floorboards and what's happening with those. We've talked about the windows and doors at the back behind the Toroanui. And then we got to talk about what equipment we need. You know, we need to turn up with some equipment. So, and then we need some workers. So I'm looking at least the next 2 weeks we should meet. We could do another hui like this. So where we can talk about it there. So yeah, I mean, I think the sooner the better, because we all want to be in our marae sooner rather than later. And if we can arrange working bees, and we can bring in Brendan Ray and some of our whānau that came and helped out with the sandbagging. We can bring in some of that whānau, but we'd need to coordinate it. We'd need to give dates, and which I guess for us really comes down to Pepper's last day, so that we know, and then we can organise our whānau to start to come in, because we are, well, you're right, Minna, it's not going to be one day. It's going to be probably a week or a series of weekends to get the mahi done. So, yeah. Koe whakaare here, kai a koe?
The other take that we need to talk to, which has been said for nearly 18 months now that when we get back, when the marae is open, we're going to talk about the kotahi te pere.
Right. Ka pai. Yeah, tika koe. Nat, kei a koe?
It's so after this hui marama, within the next, I want to say, week, when we are all well, we'll get together the fundraising committee in Rangawera, because there's a bit of sequencing that needs to happen. Right, so Pepper's off site, and then we get the DAS electrical and the utility people on site, and they do their connecting things, and then we start to work out what goes where and how goes where. But the purchasing of those is a conversation that we'll have as soon as possible once we're well. And so I guess maybe it's a good time to have a kōrero, or maybe get a couple of resolutions that the purchasing, once Rangawera have met with the fundraising committee and Mina, to talk about the stainless steel works and the benches, that actually we have the endorsement to go and purchase those items, because I'm just thinking about some of the delays that are happening within sectors, and I mean, just being practical to be able to open. And then the other thing to talk about as part of this kōrero, I understand, is interim storage for crockery, plates, bowls, those sorts of things. And if we can, the decision will be made by the Rangawera, and when we come back together, and anyone else who would like to join that conversation when we have it, obviously, but it's just to get that okay, I guess, in this forum, that we can then go and start to activate some of those conversations so that we have the items that we need, because it would be great if we can do working bees and we have, you know, it's a bit of sequencing, so we can't wash all the cups until we have somewhere to put them. So those sorts of sequence conversations, and the big piece in the middle there is actually getting the things that we need to be able to put the cups into, and to put the bowls under, and get the pots there. And so it's a very long way of saying, could we have two resolutions, please, to one, progress with the purchase of the stainless steel stuff, I don't know the words, required, once the conversation has been had with the Rangawera and anyone else, like I said, who wants to be a part of this kōrero, that determines exactly what those items in that list looks like, and also that putia can be spent from the DIA monies to get whatever the kota needs to be able to open when this date comes.
Kia ora. Nat, so I just think that we move a resolution for the kota to purchase the necessary items for Toroanui to be operational. So I think rather than going through the items, because there's electrical, all those other things, I think we're better just to keep that open. So that's the resolution. Do I have a mover? Mover, just raise your hand, whānau, if you'd like to move that. Oh, ka pai whai, and a seconder, hariata. And all those in favour, can you please raise your hand?
So Damon, could I just add something to your resolution? It's really just a clarity point. And that's just to say that the items as per our budget.
Ka pai, items as per budget. So items as per budget outlined in the application. Yeah. So we were up to mover. So who was our mover? Sorry. Faye, and seconder was Hariata. And all those in favour, please raise your hand. Ka pai. Please raise your hand, all those in favour. Ka pai. That's unanimous, whānau. That's great. Go ahead and order that. And you're right, Natalie, in regards to the sequencing. 2 weeks from this weekend is Easter weekend. Now, I'm proposing that we go the following weekend because, as Nat's pointed out, there's a bit of stuff that needs to be done. And I'm proposing that we meet just to talk about the cleanup on Sunday, the 24th of April at 10 o'clock. Sunday, the 24th of April, 10 o'clock. We will meet. We'll send out a Zoom link that will work this time, Lena, once I get that all sorted. And then we will discuss. We will discuss what the cleanup will look like and the sequence of that moving forward. So, and then the week after will be our Hui a Marama, which is on the 1st of May. Ka pai, it requires the cleanup. It's going to require its own hui. It's going to require its own hui. So, Auntie Jenny, you have a question?
Yeah, we talk about cleaning up. We can't do anything until we've got what we need. Now, you can clean up outside, the grounds, not a problem. But to go inside, it's no use cleaning up if the lino hasn't been put down. We need stuff in the kitchen before we can start to wash our cups and saucers. We go in there and we wash our cups and saucers. We got nowhere to put them because we haven't got the cupboards. Let's get down to the basic of everything. We need the cupboards to be there. We need our stainless steel tables, which Michael has already gone and done sent away a quote for. I did yesterday or Saturday or Friday, I went to get cupboards, asked for cupboards. You try finding cupboards, go on your computers and try find cupboards. The ones that we wanted originally, out of stock. So I could only get the cheap ones, and I want to do a kōrero on here from the warehouse. 5 hopefully in Hawara and 3 over in Bell Block. That's cupboard, so we can wash our dishes and put our cups and our crockeries away, 8 of them, because we can still use some of the ones that were taken out when we were told to hurry up and get them out of there, out of the kitchen area when it first started, the PDF stuff started, get them out of there urgently. So Michael and another guy got them out of there. They'd already been taken out. They were broken at the back of them. But if we can, we will use them as well until we can afford to go and get stainless steel. Because the area where the hobs are, gas hobs are, is going into stainless steel. We have tried to find out how much stainless steel is going to cost us. And that's what we've done in that budget, put it into that budget. There's stuff that's been done that we didn't even know about. When you talk to one ringawera, you need to talk to the other 99 behind that one. So that we all know what's going on. So I'll tell you, if I don't know, hardly anybody else will know. So we do.
Okay. So let's get back to what I was saying. We can meet to discuss what that's going to look like. You can go and order what you need to order for the inside. We can do the outside. That doesn't mean it stops us from doing that work. So if we go back to the outdoors and everything that can be done outside, we can complete that. The rest of the mahi, as we wait for things to arrive inside the kota, then that will get to the next stage of cleaning. So I don't see that that's going to hold up any of waiting for stainless steel trolleys won't hold up all the work outside.
No, you can do that.
But if we plan it out, then we can get to a point where we know what we're going to do over a certain amount of weekends or during a weekday. So, and I understand that that's going to take some time to order. So we've passed the resolution to order that. We can still plan for it. it's just been brought to my attention that the 24th of April is Anzac weekend as well. So we may have to push it out again to another weekend. I don't want to discuss it on the Huia Marama Day because it's going to be too much. So it might look like the Saturday before the 1st of May that we discuss and we have that kōrero. So if we look at that weekend of the 1st of May, then I'm looking at the 30th. I'm looking at the 30th. The 30th of April, where we would come together to discuss the cleanup. Then the 1st of May would be our Huia Marama Day. So let's look at that so that we've got the weekends free to do that. As I say, those long weekends are free. So with that then, Jenny, you know, there's nothing we can do about what's happened in the past. We can only focus on the future. And what the future is telling us is that we've got to be well planned and better planned. So, you know, I agree, you know, some of the decisions that were made. We can't do anything about that now. All that we can do is focus on getting our marae up and ready. So we've made the resolution. Let's now order the amount of, or order what needs to be ordered to make the Toroanui operational. And what I want to say, and I've heard it a few times today, is that the ringawera, there's always been on marae a reciprocal relationship between the front and the back. Pai ki mua, pai ki muri. And I'm getting sick and tired of hearing, let's make, you know, our ringawera make the decisions. We make the decisions together. It's almost like we're trying to create drama by saying, here's them over there making decisions and us over here that aren't. I don't like that kōrero. I don't like it. It's not good for us as a marae, and it's not good for us moving forward in terms of our marae strategy. Oranga marae means bring life to the marae. We do that together. We do it together. Now, if you're not part of that and you don't want to be part of that, whai Jenny, then aroha mai. But pai ki mua, pai ki muri. Pai ki muri, pai ki mua. It's reciprocal. It's a balance. That's what I want to say about that.
You think I don't know that, Damon?
Ka pai, Auntie Jenny.
Like that, and Auntie Jenny, let's speak about that. That's what the strategy is about.
So pai ki mua, pai ki muri. I've got it on the whakakapi conclusion PowerPoint that Toroanui Working Bee meeting could be Saturday the 30th of April.
The 30th,
and
make it the 30th, Lena.
Yep, and the following day will be the May Huia Marama for the 1st of May. And then also noted is there needs to be a ringawera and fundraising committee sequence hui by Auntie Jenny in regards to what Natalie was proposing, that there's a lot of sequencing that needs to take event, just like what you've been saying, Auntie Jenny, and so need to organise a hui for that, just to sequence everything to flow together.
Right, ka pai, ka koe kui whakaari here.
Kia ora tautoko, ana e mani ho kōrero hoi no, e mea I puta mai, and I've gotten a little bit lost on it, but if the shell, if I can say the shell of the kitchen is all good, you just need to put stuff in there. There is no reason why we can't use some of the old dining room tables to sit our crockery on, because we don't have the place, you know, the things that you want to have, and they're not ready yet. But we can use our dining room tables. That's been done before. It's not the first time. I mean, of course, it'll be wonderful if we just walked in and everything is there. That'd be awesome, but it isn't. It's not going to be like that. So as a compromise, I'm just putting forward, use our old dining room tables. Have a look if you can see that would be better than using money that we don't have a lot of on those wheat bix cupboards that are not going to last very long anyway. Just have a karo, you know, and if you're that particular, we can use what do you call those plastic bins with a lid, with a taupoki, e rā ahua, and it won't be for long. Like, it's certainly not going to be for 6 months. Pretty sure that. Everything's coming right now.
Right.
All right. Kia ora koe. Kia ora mai.
Kia ora, ka pai koe whakaari here. So just to review our dates, we've got the 18th of April with our ngā rā o tō urao ko te uti. We've got our 30th of April, which will be our clean-up day hui. And we'll have that at 10 a.m. We'll make sure we get the links organised. And then we've got the 1st of May, which will be our hui marama day. So we've got a Saturday, Sunday hui. And that will allow us to plan. And also, Nat, just to keep in touch with us regarding the orders and what the sequencing. I like what you said there. I think we just need to pull a document together that talks about the sequencing of things, because you can't do that without the other things that have been mentioned. So, ka pai. Right, we have Mina, kōrero, and then Nadia, and then we will whakakapi. We'll finish our hui.
Kia ora, kia ora. I just wanted to flag that the last weekend of the month is usually a PPT community hui from 1 o'clock onwards. So that would be the Sunday, 1st of May. So just so that we know to have our hui and that kind of crunch it in beforehand.
Ka pai. Kia ora. Ka pai. And Nadia, kai a koe?
Thank you, Damon. Yeah, I do. So the 1st of May hui, is the PPT hui likely to be on at Waria Hall? Because I'm thinking that our mandates are starting to lift now, and is it safe for us to start having a conversation around coming back together as a whānau now and meeting at Waria Hall on the 1st of May?
Quite possibly, given that. Quite possibly.
Quite possibly. Yeah.
Okay.
Just because we had our, you know, and I don't know why, but our whare was unavailable today for our hokainga, so there is some of our hokainga who missed out on today's hui, and perhaps it might be safe. We don't know until we get closer, but yeah, the mandates of lifting, we might be able to relax a little bit and meet in person at Waria Hall.
Kia ora. Ka pai. Well, he mihi ana ki a koutou e te whānau. Thank you very much for your time today. Daylight savings and moving into autumn. So he rā pai, he rā pai. Nō reira, I runga I tērā, ko te kōrero wakakapi nei, e karakia wakakapi ko heata. Heata ki runga, heata ki raro. Heata ai, heata tū katakatu. Tū te wini, tū te wana. Tū te wakaunguha mai ki tēnei tauira, tūturu o iti wakamaua ki a tīna. Aumi e ui e taiki. Ka pai whānau, we've recorded this link, so we've got this as a record for our hui moving forward. Ka pai, enjoy the rest of your day. Tēnā koutou katoa, ka kite anō.
Ka kite, nā mihi.